Okay, are we live? How's our audio? Can you guys hear me all right? Let's put on something a little more peaceful. Hi everyone, can you hear me all right? Testing. Testing 1, 2. Audio levels, checking. Hi everyone, Jerrel here. How you doing? Steven, good to see you. Gino saying good to see you. Let's see. Do I turn that down? 1, 2. I'm not sure if I have audio coming in through multiple devices here, so I'm just going to double check my audio as I've had a couple different setups recently, haven't I? Let's go ahead and turn that one down. And I think that's the audio that I want. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Testing 1, 2. Yep, my phantom power is on, okay. So, for audio, I have to run my microphones through a piece of hardware that provides what is called phantom power, which I think is pretty rad. In the audio world, it's probably nothing very special, but I think the fact that it's called phantom power is, come on, that's that's a video game term that they've just applied to the audio world. So I'm just trying out, I'm experimenting with with some lighting setup here. I've got a colored bulb here to try and match the background a bit. Double the audio. Phantom Power is now my mix master name. Look, I'm so addicted to the term Phantom Power, and you know I've got friends that wouldn't know anything about that likely have no interest in any kind of audio equipment, and I find sometimes I'll keep redirecting conversations so I can have an excuse to talk about Phantom Power because I think it sounds so cool. I think they're starting to get suspicious. I think they're going, why does Jerrel keep talking about Phantom Power? What's that all about? Catch Phantom Power on the tables. Well, you know, here we go. I'm changing the conversation again. Here we go. I'm diverting the conversation. But I recently, because I'm setting up the new recording studio. Because I'm setting up the new recording studio. I've got a unit now that has Phantom Power built in. Ooh, I don't need a separate unit for Phantom Power. So now it's, that's that's fancy. All right. So what I'll be working on today is, so I'm building a duck season for the Switch and DS simultaneously. So what that means is I am creating these high resolution, high definition environments in a 3D space. So the Switch will use these real-time 3D graphics, and the DS will use pre-rendered graphics. So I'll just bring the camera right on up here, I'll take a screenshot, and I will turn it into pre-rendered graphics, and then I will put that into my DS game. So, pretty exciting. Alright, good to see you guys. It's good we can just hang out, and look, just to prove that I'm not always just eating those instant noodles. I know it seems like that, but I have a very boring... This is Australian grown-up cereal. There's no marshmallows in it, not a single marshmallow. It looks like stuff you would feed to a horse, but I guess it's pretty healthy. I didn't have time to have breakfast before setting up the stream because I was trying to set up quite a few different things here, so I guess I just have to eat my horse food for breakfast because it's healthy. That's what grown-ups eat. If I run this, will it crash? Because I've been moving my programs and projects across to different workstations so I can do the live streaming. I'm going to run this and see if it crashes. Okay, I've got an error message. It says press the any key. What's the any key? Okay, what do we got here? Steven, how are you going to handle the move from the 2-screen DS to the single-screen Switch for duck season? So, I'm developing these two games side by side, so it's not a matter of porting. Throughout the entire development process, I've already considered how each version is going to be different. So, on the Switch, it's all just going to be standard controllers using the... You can use any controller, really. And it'll just be a standard controller interface. On the DS, it's going to be primarily, the whole thing is just going to be touchscreen on the DS. So, is it even cereal without the mallows? It's... Without marshmallows, it's technically horse food. But that's healthy these days, someone said. Okay. So, let's see. Okay, yeah. Okay, so that's going to run. Okay, that's great. So you can see the SunGrand logo. You can see, so I'll design it so it can create code linker out, but it's going to be very difficult for me to do code linker in on the DS for programmatic reasons. I created the code linker system in C#, a programming language, and I have no access to that in here. And I could develop code linker in, but it would take a significant amount of time. So yeah, right off the bat, I want people to have access to the soundtrack. There's going to be some extra stuff, and this is a product that I would like to maintain long term, because I don't have to go through any approval process. It's not an official product. It will be a free homebrew title, so I'll be able to upgrade it and maintain it whenever and however, and I can implement, feature requests and things of that nature. All this work is making me thirsty. Where's my tab? Tab is... that's a soda, right? Is that an energy drink or a soda? Oh, my coffee's already gone cold. It's been sitting on the table. So, I'm gonna experiment with some light here. Oh, see, if I go blue, then I start... Oh, it's the Back to the Future thing. Oh no, you guys. It's a Back to the Future thing. Ah. Hold on, I'll turn it to green. Whoa, I'm doing the... Oh, shoot. Oh, no, guys. Oh, somebody's got to go back in time and convince my parents to fall in love. Oh, no. Oh, no. And that, yeah, that's kind of a neat effect there. Okay. It's a color-changing light bulb, isn't it? I'm just going to experiment with that. But now I'm kind of seeing, like, it's grass there. I can't use blue or green, because then I'll start... Well, blue's all right. I'll start that. Go invisible. It's a diet soda was just continuing the Homer quote because he pressed the tab key expecting it to give him a tab. Okay. That's pretty funny. You know what I saw the other day was Family Guy. I hadn't seen Family Guy in years. I'm a big Family Guy. Grew up with Family Guy when I was a teen. And the voices sounded different. It was really weird. Like Chris Griffin really sounded different. Yeah, just a couple things that kind of threw me off a bit. So, okay, so what I'm gonna do right now, so that's a placeholder. That the images that I've been using to create Duck Season for DS, I was just borrowing from an environment in episode Prelude. It's just prototyping graphics. I've been building this actual environment for Duck Season, so I'm just gonna fill this out a bit. I'd like to see. I'd want to blend into the fire here. I'm gonna put it on the red. I kind of like that I can blend in with the fire, so I'll just move that there to the side. Yeah, so you guys said you had a rough day. How you doing? How was your day? Was it just a rough day at work? It's been a long week for me. Yeah, it's just the Unity situation was really problematic for everyone, and then it was a matter of planning long term. Because you have to plan forward a certain extent to feel any comfort in your career in the working environment, and suddenly Unity users unless they didn't care about the situation at all, were kind of saying, wait, what should I do now? It's not really, I don't feel safe or comfortable right now. So that was really problematic. And so for me, it was a matter of, well, I'm going to have to start learning some other engines, some other programming languages. And I'm very much in the middle of all these games that are just partially developed, and they're far along in Unity. They're using my Unity frameworks. It was really frustrating. So, and then I entered a mental mode where I just didn't want to use Unity to make games. I just wanted to spend some time with other engines, because it was, it just didn't feel safe working in Unity, and it just didn't feel right. Even after Unity said, "Oh no, we'll backtrack it now, and then later on we'll just implement something that we're not going to make public, and then you little nerds will won't be able to complain about it. You like that?" And that's really what Unity was saying. So it was really problematic. So anyway, I like to sort of fill out the sides of my ponds. I like to bring some rocks in. I like to spend a lot of time outdoors, and this is often what you see is around water sources. You'll see that, but it also makes the water source more interesting, or the body of water. So as you view it from different angles, having things go into the water like that makes it visually more interesting and engaging. And it gives you different views as well, because say you walked over here to this little shore, it kind of feels like you have your own little secret cove here. So that's how I like to build my views here. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. I think it's going to be a quiet day today, guys. What day is it? For me, it's honestly, I don't even know what day of the week it is. I've just been working, haven't really been paying attention to what's been going on, so it's a little exhausting. Let's go ahead and bring our inspector over so we can get some painting done. Okay, so our inspector tends to disappear in Unity behind the other windows, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'll tell you a little bit, I'll give you some details about duck season and what's different between the two versions. They think you're pitching them your new faith, a phantom power witness. I've seen the power, Nintendo power. Well, Jerrel, the show is 20 years old. The actors are old now. Seth Green is like 60. No, he's not. Internet, tell me how old Seth Green is. Chat GPT, tell me how old Seth Green is. I'm guessing 55. Let's go in. Okay, how old is Seth Green? Ooh, dang, that's rough. 49. Wow, that was rough, Gina Zay. He's not 60. 49 years old, Seth Green. Carl, how's it going? Good to see you. Yeah, so I'm just working on some pre-rendered environments. What we'll do is, so I explained it a little earlier, is I'm creating these fully 3D environments for the Switch version of DS, and then I will pre-render them, which is really rendering them at good quality and good resolution, and then I will be using those pre-rendered assets for the DS version. I've got my ducks here. So we'll also be doing the same for our monsters, our cryptids. We'll be doing pre-rendered sprites. So if you've seen some of the other 2D games in Silver Falls, like Gaiden, Deathly Delusion, Destroyers, and if you played Frontier Fighters Mini, that's free if you haven't played Frontier Fighters Mini. If you go to the silverfallsgame.com website, you can play Frontier Fighters Mini for free. And that was one where I pre-rendered high quality backgrounds and put them into a 2D environment. So I'm going to just pick my stone here. So the way that I like to blend these, you can use a special graphics technique that will blend your objects with the background. I'm not using that because on the Nintendo Switch that's very expensive. It drops my frame rate by like 10 frames a second, and I'm already spending my performance budget on other things. So that's something you have to consider when you're developing, especially on hardware like the Switch is, sure, yeah, you could make games look gorgeous on the Switch. Like people say, oh, Switch games look bad. It's not about that. It's about how much time do you want to spend optimizing, uh, and how do you want to spend your performance budget, because every single hardware has a performance budget. It's just things like PlayStation and Xbox have a higher performance budget, and the Switch performance budget is just a bit lower. So I'm going to adjust the color on these rocks so they blend the terrain a little bit better, but this is fine for now. Okay, what I will do again is just add a little bit more detail here. So people have been asking about the difference between the different versions of Duck Season. So the two games will share very similar gameplay. They will be a sort of a... I don't really know how to describe it in terms of a genre, because I don't generally plan my games. I don't think of my games in terms of genres, because if you plan to make a genre game, you're going to pigeonhole yourself, and you generally will just be stuck creating less interesting, less unique products. You'll be restricted to be following genre formula. So I generally don't think of my games in terms of genres, but it's sort of I can't even think of any loose genre terms to describe it. It's like a mass. No, it's not like a mass army. It's like a strategy battle. A strategy battle game. It's the kind of game where I want people to just play it. I don't really want people to think about what... I don't want people to look at it and go, oh yeah, I think it's this kind of genre or that kind of genre. Don't worry about that. I want you to just play it and go, yeah, this is pretty weird, pretty funny. Okay, so, let's get some... I see a lot of people using procedural generation to let, if we were talking to investors, we would say that AI is creating it. But really, it's procedural generation. I see a lot of people using procedural generation to create their environments for them. And I don't think I'll ever reach a point in my life where I will use procedural generation, because I like my worlds to have a handcrafted feel. All of those games that have procedurally generated environments feel empty. That's how you end up with games where people get sick of open world. They look at it and go, well, there's nothing here. And that's because if you don't personally create the environment, you don't even know what that environment is. You don't know why that environment exists. And so how can the creator possibly connect with their creation if they didn't even create that creation? So for me, I handcraft every single piece of my worlds, my environments, because it means that I know that I put something here. When you spend time creating that, then you mentally connect with it, and then you start thinking, oh, well, I've made this little cove here. Maybe I can put some things here, some items. I can leave a little meadow here. If I just hit a button that said procedurally generate, who cares? It's all done. My game's done. I don't have to do any more work. So I personally don't connect with that style of development. So the differences between the two versions of Duck Season is that because Duck Season on the DS was, mid to late 2000s was when it was most popular. So the two versions of Duck Season actually have different stories, and the gameplay is slightly different between the two. There are some gameplay differences. So Duck Season on the DS has a story that is set in the late 2000s, around 2008 or so, and Duck Season on the Switch has a story set closer to modern day. And that is an interesting storytelling opportunity to me, because in Duck Season, I gotta be careful with how much I say because I don't really want to spoil anything. You do encounter humans, but you're playing as the ducks. You're playing as a ton of ducks, is how I'm going to describe it. Yeah. I will say that Duck Season is a ton of ducks simulator. That's how I'll describe the game. You encounter humans, and so some of the humans that you encounter in the DS version, most of them that you encounter in the DS version will appear in the Switch version. And so you get to see these people as they grow older. But the reason why this is such an interesting storytelling opportunity to me, and the reason why I really wanted to do Duck Season, is because the characters that you spend time with, they engage with the player character because the player is playing as a duck. The characters will engage with the player in a way that they've never engaged with before. When people are around other people, they're talking to other people, they're generally guarded a fair bit. There's a fair bit of, you protect your privacy, and there's certain things that you just don't want to tell your friends, whether it's like you don't want to bum them out, you don't want to bother them, you don't want to sort of you don't want to harsh their vibe, so to speak. But when it comes to Duck Season, you're playing as a duck, and these human characters that you spend time with will open up, and they'll say things that they wouldn't say, to their human friends in real life. So you get to sort of spend time with these characters in a different way. So I'm just trying to soften the harshness of these edges here by adding some grass. There we go. That's a bit harsh. So anyway, so those are the differences. There will be mechanical differences as well. The Switch version can be a bit more complex because I can program more complexity into the mechanics. There will be more in terms of like long-term mechanics. I'm not going to say that much. I don't want to spoil anything, really. Okay. Let's see. Gino says Seth MacFarlane actually died 9 years ago due to renal failure. What? No, he's alive. They didn't clone him. They wouldn't clone Seth MacFarlane. At age 77. How old is Seth MacFarlane? They are all the Sun Grand channel. I create the procedure. It creates according to my design choice. Yeah, there's absolutely a place for it. If you need massive environments, like doing it this way, you're never going to create these massive sweeping environments by hand, because you'll die by the age of 77 due to renal failure before you finish, large-scale environments. So there absolutely is a place for procedural generation, but for me, that's not my approach. I just can't connect with it. I've tried it once just to see what it was like, but it really wasn't my vibe. Steven Deck, you should name one Duck Season and one Duck Storm. Is that like a Mighty Ducks reference, or what's the deal here? So okay, so here's the thing. So I need to plan out what sections I'll be using. So I know that in the DS version, I'll need an area where you can recruit the ducks. So the ducks will be swimming in and out. So I've created this area. I know that the ducks will be swimming in and out. So I know how I want to pose the camera, and I want to create my pre-rendered angle. And what we'll do during the stream, I'll do that now actually, just so we can see it in action, is I'll take a pre-render of this and I'll stick it into Duck Season there on the DS. But I know that this is the area where, so there's a couple different phases in gameplay. One phase is you're sort of playing as the lead duck, and you're throwing breadcrumbs into the water, and you're trying to get the other ducks. If the other ducks sort of eat the breadcrumbs, they'll join you. So there's a couple different colors of ducks, and each of the color of duck has a specific ability. For example, one, I'll just open my design notes here. Okay, no thank you. Duck Season, here we go. Alright. What do we got? Oh man, this is a lot of documentation here. Oh boy. What do we got? I need to see what draft this is as well, if I'm reading the correct. Anyway, don't put this down in like a Wikipedia and then say that it's different when the game actually launches. So you have your let's see, your green duck. Okay, so your green ducks, if you recruit green ducks, you deploy your units. So during battle, enemies are walking from the top of the screen, they're coming down to the bottom of the screen, so you deploy ducks. So you have to pick the color of your duck, but you have limited number of ducks. So you have to go and recruit ducks, and then your ducks get killed, and then there's permadeath. So if you lose a duck, it's gone forever, as you would in real life. So if you use a green duck, it has a weak attack, but it has a wide range, so it can hit multiple enemies. Your blue duck boosts the power of the ducks that are nearby. Your black duck has a strong attack, but it's less range than the green duck. You have the red duck, which has balanced stats and it moves fast. So when an enemy is walking down across the field, if you deploy a duck, if the duck meets that enemy, the enemy stops moving. So sometimes you really need a red duck to just deploy and stop the enemy in its tracks. You have white ducks, which heals nearby ducks. And then you have a gold duck. The gold duck has a honk, which stuns enemies. That just sounded funny to me. I hadn't seen my notes in a while, so I think that's pretty funny. So, yeah, you have a couple different ducks. You can encounter humans. You get different boosts. Okay, I will say this. So the Switch version has a mechanic that the DS version does not, and that's for story and lore reasons. If there's anyone that's already familiar with the games and the story in Silver Falls, the Switch version of Duck Season, you will be able to collect Starglass splinters. So they're not big pieces of Starglass, they're very small pieces of Starglass, and you can equip them to a duck color. So only one of your colors, when you're setting up for battles, one of your colors of duck, you can attach a Starglass, and you can give them elemental abilities for one mission. So they can have flame, cryo, electro, wind, or light. And then after the end of that battle, the Starglass splinter shatters, and then you've used that up. So there are tasks that you can perform in the game to keep collecting Starglass, and that's part of the fun and the appeal as well, is you keep coming back every day, hoping to find more Starglass. And then part of the appeal is you can sort of, if you want, you can just take on a bunch of easy missions, and try and collect loot. You want to build up your Starglass, you want to build up your stat boosts. Pensers, hey, how's it going? Jacob, Tyler, how's it going? Thanks for coming to hang out. Duck season versus rabbit season. Hey guys, Fred, Bluntstone, good to see you. So there's only a couple people here, but don't spoil it. But I was actually, it first started out as a joke, but I started doing I started making Rabbit Season as a PSP game because of the rivalry between the DS and PSP. The other night I was thinking it would be very funny if I had Silver Falls Duck Season on the DS and then Silver Falls Rabbit Season on the PSP. So I just started making a little PSP homebrew. I may not even, actually complete it and launch it. I just thought it'd be funny if there was a Rabbit Season. So I started doing that, but don't go telling anyone, because that may not even eventuate to anything. But I just thought it'd be pretty funny. Is this Game Maker? So this, what I'm using for DS is a very specific program. It's not Game Maker. The creator just called it Game Maker because the name was identifiable at the time. It's very, very old, and it's quite tricky. But if you look up DS Game Maker, there are guides on how you can install it and use it. And there's a community on Discord. They're all very cool people. So if you want to try making your own DS games, they'll help you get started. So that's what I'm using here. Okay, so Duck Season is, I suppose, the closest thing you can compare it to is an RTS, but you don't control the individual units in Duck Season. You deploy the units and they have their own AI, and then they go and perform things, and that's why you're more of an army manager. You're managing a duck army, and your ducks, you're deploying them, but they are expendable. Oh, that sounds so mean, doesn't it? But your ducks will die. But if you can keep any units alive during your battles, obviously they'll rejoin the army. So you can level up duck colors. So we were talking about duck colors earlier. You have green, red, blue, black, white, and gold. You can level up the duck colors. So, as you take on missions and you get experience points, you don't level up individual units, you level up the color. So let's say, oh man, I'm finding that I'm relying, if you find that your strategy, you tend to take on missions and you think, oh, I tend to use a lot of white ducks for healing, but they're getting killed too much. So then you think, okay, well, I'll just use my experience points on the white ducks for a while and get my white ducks to be leveled up a bit, you know. And then so any white duck that you recruit into your duck army and then use them in battles, all of those white ducks will be at that level. Okay, so yeah. Oh, what I'll do is I'll just take some test pre-renders, right? For the memes always, yeah. Yeah, I know. So if at some point you do see Rabbit Season launch on the PSP, then it's like the handful of people that are hanging out here that you guys will know that it was just a funny joke, and then I ended up turning it into a real game. Steven, no way, man. No, you have to release Rabbit Season. Yeah, I can make PSP games as well. So, Ducknado, yeah, a tornado of ducks. Let me see here. So, let me grab my camera. I'm gonna turn my gizmos on. I'm going to aim. So what I'm going to do is just bring my camera. I'm gonna aim it at a spot that I think is pretty good, and I'll take a render. So I'll go here. Okay. So I like this position of the camera. So I'm just going to, I think I'm going to duplicate my camera, so I can leave one there and return it into that position because I actually really like that. So I'm just going to leave that duplicate camera there. Let's see here, main camera. So what I'm doing now is I'm posing my camera, going to pre-render it, which means I'm taking a high quality screenshot and then I'm going to format it so I can bring it into Duck Season on the DS. Okay, so let's go ahead and aim it up here. And I'm kind of thinking like, so here's my consideration for the Duck Season on the DS is I need to take into account dual screens, right? So let's say that's going to be my top screen, what I'm looking at now. That's going to be on the top screen. I need to consider what's going to be on the bottom screen as well. Now I'm going to do double duty here because what if at some point people in the future say, okay, yeah, we like Duck Season on the DS and we really like Duck Season on the Switch, but then they see they're two totally different games, they're very different. What if people said we really want Duck Season DS HD? So I'm actually going to create all my pre-renders in widescreen format. So if it happens at some point in the future that people want the DS version of Duck Season in HD, maybe when the Switch 2 comes out, which is going to be called the Swooch, then I can make, yeah, because the Nintendo Swooch might have the two screens, and people might want Duck Season DS HD. So I'm going to pre-render that in widescreen format. That's going to save me some trouble. So I tried to consider, I'm going to put that guy on the top, and I need to think what's going to be in my bottom screen. So usually what I'll do then afterwards is I'll grab my camera and then I'll just sort of bring it back and I will consider things like, okay, well then the camera needs to be back here for the bottom screen, you know. And that influences how I spend my time creating my environment. So I have no detail here. Right now it's just the terrain, as you can see. So now that I know, okay, well I need my environment to be detailed here because I'll be using this part of the screen. That's where I put all the buttons anyway, but I want it to feel like a continuous environment. So I will then fill out this environment, and I'll know that, okay, I know where the camera is going to be. I'll fill out the details there. So for the time being, and actually, this is something you learn when you are spending time creating pre-renders. Well, I spent the majority of my professional career so far making 3DS games, and so I know that you don't just slide the camera back, you actually have to angle it down as well in order for it to look correct. Yeah, that's a pro tip for anyone that's making dual screen games out there. Vinny Senzo60, hey, how's it going? Thanks for coming to hang out. Make it better than the Call of Duty DS graphics were. Oh, it's rough, and I kind of love that. I really like when we had really, like the console quality games, and then they thought, there was just, they flew too close to the sun, and they thought, let's go ahead and take Call of Duty, put it on the DS, and it's just the jankiest jank. I kind of love it. I kind of like how janky it is. You know what? Let's go ahead and for anyone that maybe isn't familiar with how the games look, maybe we'll just like, I'll just bring up some screenshots here. All right. Ah, ah, my sweet, sweet DS, my lovely portable Call of Duty. You know, if you squint, and if you squint, it's not that bad. It kind of looks like an iPod game, like a late 2000s iPod game, isn't it? Anyway, yeah. Well, I'll be using all pre-rendered graphics, so you know it's going to look decent because of the pre-rendered graphics. So let's go ahead and take some renders now. I'm going to pose that. So if we have a look at my DS game project here, I've already created all my rooms set up. So I know that I'll have a scene for recruiting where the ducks will be swimming across the water. And for that, actually, I need the touchscreen. I need the ducks to be swimming across the water. So I know that whatever I render here, I will need it to be on the bottom. But I also want to look up. And for this as well, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to render multiple frames. I'm probably going to render maybe 8 frames so that you see the water moving, you see the wind blowing the trees. Fog is going to complicate things, so I'm just going to disable any kind of mist or fog if I only have 8 frames. And what I'm doing is actually creating frames of animation for the background, and the background itself will actually animate. I've done a test already, so I'll go ahead and run this, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I'll just wait for that build to finish. So that means that I have to let a couple frames progress. I pause the game, I'll take a screenshot, and then every couple frames on the DS, it'll actually change the background on both the top and the bottom screen, so it looks like the water's flowing. So I'll be doing that. I won't do that now, it's a little time consumed. I will show you a test, and first I'll just work on posing this. So right now, I'm going to take a screenshot of the lake, and I need the ducks to be swimming in and out. So I want the edges of the, or not the lake, the pond. So I don't want the edges to be visible, right? I want the bottom of the screen to show the shoreline, because there are buttons on the bottom of the screen, right? So I want the player to be able to see that. So I might rotate my camera until it's just right. I'm going to move my lighting around as well. So I'll just find the position that I like. I kind of like the shoreline like this. And again, I'm posing the camera so I can create a render for the DS. So that's looking pretty good. That's pretty much what I want here. I want to be able to see the shoreline on the bottom, because that's where the buttons will be, and it gives a sense of dimensionality. It doesn't make it look like we're just looking at a boring water texture on the DS. I want to consider that the time of day. So there is a time of day system in that only certain things can happen at certain times of the day. So I'm going to adjust the position of the sun as well. Okay. So I need to get rid of these rocks now, because the ducks will be swimming left and right. So now I need to move some things. I don't really... Oh, right. No, that's fine there. That's fine, because that'll be cropped. So what we're actually going to see is this. And then in the HD version, if people want, on the Nintendo Switch 2, which is going to be called the Swooch, if people want Ducksies in HD, I'll do that. Okay. So what I'm doing now is I don't really like that there. Ooh, I don't really like that there. Overall, it's fine. I do like it there in the pond, but in the purpose that I need those edges to be clear. So I think I'm just going to say, I don't know if I should just move them, you know? I feel bad just deleting it. I think what I will do is I'll just move it over here, because I don't want to lose the dimensionality that my pond has. I think it's interesting to look at, and if you start taking things out that change the shape, that simplify the shape, it looks quite boring. So what I will do is I'll just move that, and I'll move that. That may be fine like that, actually. No, here's the problem. When you have that, it makes your pond look small. Because if this frame is the only context you have, you now think, oh, it only goes to the corner there. So logistically, I cannot have that there. So what I will have to do is get them both out of frame, and I'm going to have to extend the pond a little bit. Okay, I'm going to extend this a bit. So let me go to my tools here. Raise and lower. Okay, knock the opacity right down. Oops, that's much too big. This brush is too big. Alright, so right now I'm looking more over here. I want that boundary to not be visible, so I'm going to have to do something about my grass and my bushes there. Let's go ahead and extend that as well. And I'll slide those fellows back. How about that? I'll slide them back. Let's slide that back as well. Okay. Go ahead and slide those back. Okay, that's looking fine. It's looking... Oh, hold on. What have I done here? Alright, okay. I'll go to my grasses. Let's go ahead and just... I'd like to use a drawing tablet for this step. I would really like that. Okay, I might leave those bushes there. What we'll do now is go ahead and just paint my textures here. What do we got? What do we got? I just drew the biggest blank all of a sudden. Alright, yeah, paint textures. Okay, and then we want the sandy portion to be extended out again. Yeah. There we go. There we go. So from far away, you know, I still have that dimensionality. I can still fix that a bit later. Again, I just want to do a render here. And so now that now looks clear. I'm going to go underwater here. Okay, great. And what I will do now is, so I'm looking at this corner here and I'm kind of thinking maybe I don't want that there. So I'm going to see what I need to do in order to make that go away. It's not this guy, is it? No. Anyway, you know what? I can fix that later. So what I will do now is I'm just going to take, let's just pretend that the future switch is going to be super high resolution. So I'm going to create this render at 5760 by 3240. And again, I'm pretending that people will want the DS version of Duck Season to be upscaled on the Nintendo Switch 2, which is going to be called the Nintendo Swooch. It's a U in the middle with a little umlaut, so it looks like a little happy face. So I'm going to render this. I'm going to click on Take Screenshot. Here, I'm going to pick my project folder. I'm a little off screen here because there's some confidential project details here. So we'll go over to Duck Season. And I gotta go like this. DS. I'm just creating some folders. Okay, I got renders. I'll put it in there for now. Okay, let's have a look. This is our render, okay? Open folder. This is the render that we got. Maybe I shouldn't bring that over there. I thought I was bringing this over. Okay. Duckverse. Now let's see. Duckverse. Yeah, like ducks from all over the universe, from different alternate universes. I mean, that's the popular thing, isn't it? The multiverse. So, you know, you'll have Spider Duck, Wolverine Duck, Doctor Who Duck. Envy. How's it going? Good to see you. I am really hyped for Duck Season because new DS game, baby. Let's go. Yeah, and if you missed it earlier, I said if I make DS games and PSP games, they're going to be games that I intend to support long term because there's no they're not financially tied to anything, and I don't have to go through an approval process, then if there are feature requests, any balancing issues, any adjustment, any new content that I would like to add, I can add it. And it's this kind of stuff is generally pretty easy to work on. Yeah, that's going to be my bottom screen for duck season, right? For the DS. So what I will do now is I'm going to angle my camera up, and I'm going to take a screenshot up. Actually, what I should do is I should duplicate it, this camera, and then I will make it a child of the other camera. And what I will do, actually no, hold on, I'll just go like or is it, there should be a button here that lets me pick the I don't see it. I'm gonna add tab. I'm gonna add, you know what, it's just too fiddly right now. We're just gonna go ahead and leave that one there. Too fiddly right now. Generally what I would do is I would keep two cameras separate, you know. Alright. And now I will aim that up, but I see now that it is crooked. This is going to be the top screen here. Well, let's go ahead and straighten that out a bit, okay? So this is what we will see on the top screen. So any details about our ducks, I can put it, you know, in darker color text, and I can put it up top. But that's too bright. I would like people to be able to see the sky a little bit. So I'm just going to try to make a couple adjustments to see if I can make that more visible. In general, I had adjusted the lighting settings so that it would look good looking at the ground, but now I need to make some adjustments here. I'm just going to turn that down and just, yeah, see. Let's go ahead and undo that. Let's just make it a little bluer here. See, it doesn't matter what it looks like in there. What matters is what it looks like in the final render. So I'm going to make some adjustments on this fella here, on this camera. Okay. Actually, I'm not even going to fiddle with it. It's too fiddly. What I'll do is I'll adjust that later. Maybe I'll just quickly turn off the. I'll turn that off. No, that barely made a difference. Okay, let's go ahead and leave that. I'll fix that later. Let's go ahead and render that out. Go ahead. I'll take a screenshot on this guy. Okay, yeah, so that'll be the top screen of our DS. Okay, so obviously there's way more things that it's not even close to being ready. It's still early, but I'll have more environmental lighting. You know, I'll have clouds and like sunbeams coming through the clouds and whatnot. Make it real pretty like. So what we're going to do is we're going to format these now to fit the DS. Okay. Elenon, D'Andridge, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Thanks for coming to hang out. Envy, hey Jerrel, just a heads up, there's a way to make DS games appear in widescreen on the 3DS and the emulator. Maybe you could give us a way to use the widescreen top screen. Are you serious? What? What? Oh man, I gotta look that up. Digital Delights, how's it going? Good to see you. Did you hear that Nintendo was shutting down the Nintendo network for the 3DS and Wii U? Yes, I have heard that. And obviously it's sad. It's a bummer, but we've had so many years to spend playing those. And I'm not saying like, oh, it's okay for them to shut it down. From my perspective, I would rather Nintendo spend their resources on the future and what's to come and improving what we can have, as opposed to continuing to support what are very old frameworks that's holding back their technology at this point. Because those sorts of things, like those old online networks, are holding back Nintendo's ability to move forward. So this is the previous, placeholder graphics. I use this environment for Episode Prelude. If you've played Episode Prelude, you might even recognize where this is. But you can see I rendered, I think there's only 4 or 5 frames of animation here, but it makes the environment look animated, so it's just enough. So what I will probably do is do 8 frames of animation for the final draft on the DS. And you can see the wind is moving the trees a bit. And you've got that there, so yeah. I think that looks decent. That's A-okay. Yeah. I think it plays a duck sound if I click here. No? Quack? No? Okay. I don't know if that's coming through. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to format these 2 renders now. So we have our bottom screen and top screen. Okay, let me go ahead and get my templates. I have my templates here. Open up my templates. Okay. So here's sort of my template thing, and I need to make sure that I reduce the bit rate, I mean the the color depth correctly. I think I use View for that. Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and grab that guy, put him right there. I'm actually going to make sure I put these both in simultaneously, and I'm going to scale them both at the same time to make sure that they, oh no, that's not, okay, let me just create a new document here. So our resolution for the DS is 256 by 192. Not a whole lot of pixels to work with. But you know what? It's not the number of pixels that matters. It's... Well, I mean, this is advice that my grandpa used to tell me years ago, even when I was just a young lad. He said, it's not the number of pixels that counts. It's the shaders that matter. And I've never forgotten Grandpa's wise old words. I remember just being a young lad, the age of 3, hearing my grandpa tell me that it's not the number of pixels that matters, it's the shaders that you use. And he said, get out of here with your post-screen anti-aliasing. I don't want to see that around these parts. He was a little like that sometimes, Grandpa. So I'm just looking at how I want to balance out the bottom of my screen here. I think I'm just going to center it, It's not a big deal right now. No big deal. Actually, I really like this. So if you select a locked layer and you hit those, you hit this little fella here, and that'll center your things there. So now my ducks can swim across. Okay, so I'll go ahead and pump out some PNGs. I think I have to use View to downscale the bit rate to make it save correctly. There's probably a way to do it in Photoshop that I forgot. No, I'm certain I've done it before in Photoshop before and I've forgotten. Okay, let's just say BG recruit bottom 1. So here's how my naming convention, right? I'm doing BG, which designates this asset as a background, and it says recruit bottom 1. The bottom 1 means it's for the bottom screen, and the 1 means the frame of animation. So when I render out other frames of animation, then I will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ad nauseum. Okay? Ad nauseum means you add something that makes you nauseous. I didn't make that up, that's true. Okay, why is it going straight to TIFF here? Okay. Alright, and then again for the other one, instead of, I'll just click in there, I'll take out where it says bottom, and then I'll click on top. Okay, so let's go ahead and shrink that stuff down now, and we want to load those into our DS Game Maker. Alright, let's go ahead and shrink down. Oh, so the environment why is the bit rate kind of low? The bit rate seems low today, right? It shouldn't look like that? That's funny. Well, I'll look into my OBS settings. Something seems strange here. Okay, let me get caught up with the chat as well. Rashad, oh man, I haven't seen DS Game Maker in years. Hey, good to see you, Rashad Z. Yeah, this is you know, there's great community support. The people in the community are really fantastic. So, yeah, it's really great. There's, you know, it's not straightforward. There's a lot of tricks you have to employ, you know, because it's not this big professional game engine, but it's just fine for fun homebrew games, and that's really what it excels at. You know, scalability is an issue. Um, because, like, say for example, like all your assets are just sort of there, you know. So when you have a ton of assets, it becomes problematic. Okay, let me go ahead and load these. Okay, I'll do the bottom screen first. Yeah, I'll put my name in there, and you do want to put the names in there. You don't want to just have a generic background name. So let's go ahead and click on BG Recruit Bottom 1. We're going to accept, and then I'll add another background. Okay, that's the one we want. Okay, and we'll load from file. Did I miss that? I better catch up with the chat here in a second. Sorry guys, I really want to just make some progress so I can show you. It's pretty satisfying when you do a bit of work and then you see the end result, you know. So I'm just trying to do something cool, you know. All right, so those are in there, right? So I have my recruit room here, and I'll show you the logic for my recruit room. So I actually have an object that controls the frames of animation. So I don't want to mess this room up because it's sort of I don't want to mess up the animation programming. I will look at it later, but I'll show you what it looks like. So I'll just go ahead and change this. I've got a duplicate there, right? No, okay. So I think if we hold Control, hold right click. Yeah, right click, we can get rid of that, right? Okay, design, and if we, oops, top screen, we'll click on BG Recruit top, and then we'll have BG Recruit bottom. And there we go. So that I tried to leave some room to take into account that there is a hinge on the DS hardware. I don't care so much about emulators, I'm not considering that, but I am considering that people will plug this onto their 3DS or DS and they'll be able to play it that way. And someone told me before that they were able to wrap DS games and then have them installed on 3DS. So, you know, I don't discuss those things because that's a side that I can't really discuss because I was a commercial 3DS developer, so I can't really discuss the homebrew side of 3DS, but I can discuss DS stuff because I was never a commercial DS developer. Anyway, I'm going to get caught up with the chat. What's the histogram for? Is that for the color information of the scene? Rashad Z, yes, yeah. That lets you know, where'd my histogram go? Where'd he go? Where did, I don't know where it went. Anyway. It lets you know, those are the blue pixels, those are the reds, but left to right. So the left side means it's dark, the right side means it's bright. So if you have a bunch of blue pixels down here, that means that there's a lot of blue pixels that are not super dark, but towards the medium to dark. That doesn't, oh, I'm clicked on the wrong thing. If I click on that one now, right? Oh yeah, see those are sort of they're all in the mids, you know. So that's the middle. So they're all kind of middle brightness colors, that histogram. If I click on that, that doesn't look like a correct readout to me. That looks like there should be a ton of bright colors there. So I don't know what the deal is here. Anyway, Envy, yes, I am serious. It's a 3DS homebrew called TW Patch. It works alongside Twilight Menu++, and it lets the 3DS make DS games render in widescreen at least on the touchscreen. Hey, that's so cool. Real neat. Digital Delights. I'm surprised that our real DS wouldn't explode with this level of graphics running on it. I want to see, I really, really want to see more developers create homebrew and just create stuff like this. we all spent a huge chunk of our lives playing DS, and then we were told to just move on from it. We've moved on. And there's something magical about going back and playing a console from the past with new content. It's something so exciting, and it's really thrilling. And I'm trying to approach it from a positive aspect of, hey guys, like, I really like old Nintendo stuff. Do you like old Nintendo stuff too? You know? And it's kind of a reminder of how good this stuff really was. We often look back or are told, like, don't look at the past, you know, it was primitive and basic. It wasn't that good. But I kind of want to take the opportunity to show people, like, hey man, remember how awesome the DES was? Like, this thing was really cool. You could do a lot of things with it. So I want to see this. I just want to see it running. So let's see, recruit. So I'm going to change my logic here. If I go to my object, so unfortunately I can't sort them alphabetically. They're sorted in the order that you create them, which is that's frustrating, but you can't fault it because it's not a professional engine. This is just a hobbyist engine, and it's great. It's so great at what it does. I can't sort alphabetically, which is a bummer, but hey, you know, I have people in my life that died and I'll never have them back, so there's no point in complaining about that. So yeah, don't complain about people in your life who have died that you can't have back, and don't complain about not being able to sort this alphabetically, because it's not that big of a deal. Right, so I'm just going to click on my sys title. So my prefix SYS is system. Usually I'll designate that prefix if I need that to be a system manager. Looks like it doesn't have any logic in there, which is a little bit of a bummer. Let's see. Oh, because I'm using buttons. I left that there in case I need that to manage something like animations. So I can have that manage the animations on the title screen. I think I have button, title 1. So any interactable button, I use the prefix BTN. And if you are using DS Game Maker, I strongly recommend that you create your own workflow for 3-letter prefixes, because then visually, because you can't sort things, you can't put them in folders. If you see BTN, at least you know, okay, this is a button, I know what that does. Okay, so this says go to the room recruit. I'm going to change that so it goes to recruit 2. So now, oh, my bit depth is wrong. I need to fix my bit depth. So I knew I was doing something wrong here. So I'm going to open but I have a feeling I don't need IrfanView. I have a feeling that I can use Photoshop to do this. But I was having mixed results, so what I'm going to do is use IrfanView, and I'm going to save this. Let's see, portable network graphics. And no, I'm being ridiculous. I'm being very silly right now. I know that you can do this in Photoshop. Okay. It was the when I needed transparency. That was when the issue. I think I needed IrfanView, but I ended up doing some other method. So yeah, what I will do is do PNG 8. Okay, that says 256 colors. I'm pretty sure you can do PNG 24. Now that I think about it, I'm thinking about it, but I don't want to stress the console out, because I haven't seen the limits of animating the background, but I know that I'm constantly switching assets when I am animating it. So for my backgrounds, I leave them at PNG 8 because it is animating the backgrounds. Okay, so I will render them at 8-bit depth, which is 256 colors. I will just overwrite. I'll just overwrite that. That's the top. That's the bottom. What? Oh, bummer. I've overwritten the wrong file here. Right? I have. Well and truly I have. I think I overwrote the wrong one because I was gabbing away, wasn't I? Alright, that's fine. So we still have this. We still have that. What I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to save that renders. I'll save this as a template. And I'm just going to rely on Photoshop snapping the size together for me. So what I will do is just save that directly as PNG 8. Yep, and that'll be the bottom. And I'll re-import them into the DS Game Maker here. Okay, so we'll go back into our backgrounds. I'll hit accept on that. See, if I tried to deploy this, I would get an error message, and it would say that the bit depth is too high. Okay, let's go back to recruit bottom, and we'll load from the file. Yep, cool. The bit depth should be okay now. Let's go ahead and load the top from file. Recruitment top. We'll accept. Go ahead and save that. I'm just going to deploy this and see if I get any error messages. I know that I get some because I have a couple things that aren't quite right. Oh yeah, see, it's BG recruitment top has more than 256 colors. Even though I did fix that. Let me go back to Photoshop, just double check. Top. See, 256. I did it again, even though I already did it. So let me see what this says here. Okay, let's run it and see what happened. AirTap, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. You know, some people in the chat, they're kind of having a bit of a rough week, you know. And I think we're all just sort of here to hang out and just sort of relax a bit, you know, and make some games and just hang out. Dream Pilot, hey, good to see you. Thanks for coming to hang out. Gotta love the crunchy look of compressed GBA and DS images. I love that. And what I'm actually going to do, okay, so for anyone that hasn't heard yet, I am working on a Game Boy Advanced game called Silver Falls God Bless America. And I'm going to install some older 3DS modeling programs. So I'm going to click that in my new images. Yeah! Yeah! Alright, I do have some issues here. There are problems. I don't know what happened. Just there. That isn't right. So, look, that's just something that I'll have to fix. I'm going to double check my settings on Photoshop. No, I don't have transparency. I think this may be why I used IrfanView to reduce the bit rate. I'm just going to try and import that again, because that just ain't right. Recruitment top. Yeah. Alright. Accept. See, I'm just gonna, because I lowered the bit rate, I'm gonna try it again and see if it gives the same error message. It shouldn't this time. Okay. It says use a different palette. It doesn't like my palette. Okay, so yeah, this is an export issue. Maybe if I used a different palette here. Let's see. I don't see that. I think this is I'm sure there's something you can do here. I think I'm just going to use IrfanView to reduce the color bit for now, so I don't keep wasting time. Yeah. The bitrate is too low to match the DS mood. You know, DS games have a total vibe to them, you know. Oh, like I was saying, so when I'm creating a Silver Falls God Bless America for the Game Boy Advanced, I don't want to use the modern graphics, like in terms of like really high quality, you know, like, oh, look at the trees and all this. I'm going to install an older software. I used Lightwave back in the early 2000s. So I think I'll use Lightwave because I want that really basic Gurad, shiny lighting look from that era. You know, it has a very specific look to it. And so that's what I'll be using to make the graphics for God Bless America, is I want it to really look like it is a real Game Boy Advance game. I don't want it to look like it's modern, you know, graphics that got pre-rendered. But it's still doing it, you know. So I'll use okay, so yeah, you saw that I was able to, and I'll show you my logic for animating the environments as well. So now I'll show you. Now this is fun. We can do a side-by-side comparison. So now we have the Nintendo Switch graphics, which is here. And let's go ahead and rotate. So we have, you know, that's what it looks like on the Nintendo Switch, and that's what it looks like on the DS.
And I think that's going to be fun. I kind of love that. You know, you sort of see like, oh, there's the HD console version, and it's like, ooh, but this is the one you can take on the go. And yeah, of course you can take the Switch on the go, but that, you know, it's cool having the DS version. You have the touch screen. So the battles are, you're throwing out a ton of ducks, right? So I'm just going to quickly, let's now make this is just a placeholder, like a temporary, you know, this is what battle graphics will be like, you know. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the camera over. So here's what I plan in the future as well. So I know that in the future I want players to play other Silver Falls game and actually be able to find this environment. So in the Switch version you don't walk around, it's menu driven, and the cameras just move to different positions as need be. I really like this, guys. I'm just gonna enjoy this lighting here real quick. I think this is just real great. You know, you sort of like see that. I just think it looks real neat. You can even see under the surface, you know. You can see like twigs and things under there beneath the light. I just think that's real fantastic. Anyway, like I was saying, in Duck Season it's all menu driven, and even the buttons that I've designed for you know, the DS game, I wanted them to look like late 2000s, you know, real dimensional, chonky buttons. That's how it was on the DS. And on the Switch, it'll be menu-driven as well. But in future Silver Falls games, I want people to be exploring the wilderness somewhere, and then all of a sudden they'll stumble upon this site. And I think that'll be an exciting moment for players when they're playing, you know, a future Silver Falls game where there's more open exploration, and they stumble onto this pond, and there's, you know, people just suddenly notice organically, like, hey, wait a second, this looks really familiar. And you might see a couple ducks sitting there, and, you know, it'll click with the players. They'll go, oh, this is the spot from Duck Season, you know. And I think that kind of moment where you're sharing this cool moment with players, that's the kind of thing that I really like. That gets me really excited. So those are the kind of things that I like to plan out, because that's the kind of thing I like to find. And so that is something that I have to consider when creating these environments. So this has to serve many functions. This has to serve the function of a playable environment for the DS, for the Switch. It has to be traversable. And I have to make it to where, okay, so where will the camera be positioned when the players are managing their menu, when they're managing their party, when they're preparing for battle, and then where are the battles going to take place? So what I want to do now is create the environment where battles take place, and I need that to be a flat area. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to pick something out, and because this area here doesn't have a whole lot going on, I'm actually going to flatten this out. And the reason I'm going to flatten this out is because I need to take a directly overhead render of it, because the battles for the DS, they need to be totally rendered flat overhead. For the Switch version, the camera will actually be movable to a certain extent, so you'll be able to lower the camera, but it's pretty important you have the camera high overhead during the Switch battles so that you can see what the deal is. You can see where the enemy units are coming from. Okay, let me go ahead and I'll just look. We'll just close that so you can see that we're able to have that. That's pretty great. And I'll just show you my logic for animating now. So I'll show you a little bit of the animating logic for anyone that wants to see that for DS. I'll flatten out this terrain, and then I'll just start filling it. We don't need a ton of details because we don't want things getting in the way. But also, I want it to be to where each time you come back, maybe something can be randomly different. There could be some bushes or grasses just so it looks a little bit different each time you go into a battle. Okay, so I will go, I should have like a manager for my duck pond. So I have BG Day Pond, right? That's I think I meant that to be like a BG manager. Okay, so here we go. We set an alarm 0 to 10 steps and alarm 1 to 15 steps, and we have steps here. So if alarm 1 rings, so we have alarm 1, and then we have alarm 0 and alarm 1. So we are using a variable. We're keeping track of our frame number by a variable, and the variable is called frame bottom. And I think, yeah. So we want to reset the alarm. The first thing we do is reset the alarm, and then we check for the variable frame number, and then we change the actual background. So we pick the screen and we change the background, and that's fine. There we go. And we have the top. I think the top was animating. Oh, that's what I've done. So see, they animate every 10 steps, right? But what I've done is I've actually staggered it. So there are 5 steps away. So I think it should be frames, really, technically. So every 10 frames, they'll animate. But I actually staggered it. And I've offset them by 5 frames because I was concerned about what the hardware could handle. I think I had to offset it by 5 frames because if I asked the hardware to change both the top frame and the bottom frame, or the top and the bottom background at the same frame, I think the hardware had issues with it and it started flickering because it was too much to handle on one frame, to go over and over again. So to offload that and to make it so it didn't have visual issues and it didn't flicker, what I did was I offset it. So I start them 5 frames apart, but they're still going at the same interval. So that's how I animated the background. Okay. Let's go ahead and go back here. Let's just start building our environment. I would really like to use a drawing tablet with this. It's kind of my favorite tool, you know. So we're just going to flatten this out. We'll go to our terrain tools here. Okay. I've selected my fog. I don't really want to click on the fog. So I just want to flatten this out. That's really the important thing right now. We will raise or lower the terrain. We'll use this nice smooth gradient. We'll increase our brush. I better get caught up with the chat here. Sorry guys. I'm just feeling, look, for me, it's just been a challenging week. It's been a challenging week. Oops, I clicked on the wrong thing. It's been a challenging week for everybody. Everyone is just a bit burned out, I think, from everything that's happening in the industry right now. I'm holding shift to select the height that I want. I'm just going to hold that down. Let's see, I'll select a lower height. So I've had to do a fair bit of extra work. I've had to do a lot of planning for the future, and it's just that takes the fun out of it, you know, is what I'll say. So it's a lot of extra work, and I volunteer once a week to go to a local hospital, and I play music. It's a cancer section, so it's just, you know, the cancer patients, and I play music there, and it's you know, I do that to try and cheer people up, to try and do something good for people, you know, and if there's something you can do to try to make someone's day a little bit better. The people that are there in that cancer hospital, like, it's the worst moment in their lives, isn't it, you know? And I play fiddle and banjo and just like calm, relaxing, old-timey music, and sometimes you'll come across people that they're walking down the hall and they're just in tears, you know, and it's horrible. It's horrible for them. Everything that's going on is the worst thing. And sometimes they might hear a little tune that they recognize, and then they'll stop and they'll stand there and listen to my music, and it'll put a smile on their face for a little bit, you know, and they'll have a chat. And there was one guy who, you know, he was obviously, he's got a family member or friend or you know, someone that's there in the hospital, and he was in tears, and he was walking past, and I was playing fiddle, and he recognized some old tunes that I was playing, and he really enjoyed it. You know, he stopped and he chatted for a bit, and he said, "Oh, you know, about a month ago, I heard someone playing the that old, you know, music from that Ken Burns, I think it is, the Civil War documentary." And he was just, his eyes lit up, you know, but, you know, he was bloodshot. He'd been, you know, obviously having a rough time. And he was just saying, like, "Oh, man, you know, do you do that?" And I said, "Was that you?" And I said, yeah, I'll play that now. I'll play that for you now. Yeah. And it cheered him up a bit. You know, it doesn't make their life any better. You know, it's still worse, awful. You know, they still have all these horrible things going on, but it's a little bit better You know, just that small moment where you can look at something that's not horrible. I think that can make a big difference to someone. So, yeah, but that sort of hit me a little bit yesterday. It was just pretty. It's tough, seeing people in that position. I'm going to try and even this out a little bit. Okay, here we go. You can import tools. I have other tools, better paintbrushes and whatnot, but I'm not going to worry about that now. I'll just sort of. You can make things look more organic and whatnot. I'm not going to worry about all that now. Okay. Yeah, it's better to use the more advanced terrain sculpting tools that are you have available. I'm not going to do that now. Because I don't need this area. I don't need that. Generally, what I would like to do is then I sort of. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because that's not the point of the stream. Is I want to show you the sort of the workflow. I'm just going to put some rocks in there just to sort of fill it in a bit. Yeah, that'll just fill in a bit. Okay, what I want to do is create my battle area. Which after I played at the hospital yesterday, and just kind of hit me a little harder than I thought it would. With that fella, and it was hard to start work again. After that, I got back to my office, and it was, I don't know, I just kept thinking of that guy. It was tough to go from that to playing a song like, for someone like that, and then to go home and go, great, I'm gonna make some video games now. It's tough to switch gears like that, but. It's just kind of the thing that eventually I'm just going to have to get used to. No big deal, really. All right, sorry guys, I'm going to get caught up with the chat here. Okay, so I've got this area here, and I know this is going to be my battle area. So I am going to do this. What I will do, I often forget. Okay, can I just right click? No. Okay, never mind. I'm going to create empty. Hopefully it creates it right there. I like to use a little yellow tag to indicate my environments here. And I'm just going to call this battle area. Okay, where did you put it? Down there? We're going up. We're going up. Okay, guys. Sorry. Let me catch up with the chat now. Yep. That's my battle area. Oh, see, the gizmos are kind of small, I think, if I need to make them bigger. There we go. You can see that's a battle area. So I'm just going to designate this. So I know that I want the enemies to be walking from up there to over here, and I know that the camera is probably going to be about here. But I need to consider the Switch version as well. So the Switch version, you'll be able to look forward a bit. So I actually need to even this out a bit more. I'm going to have to, for now, I'm not going to worry about it because it's not important right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put trees and objects along the sides. And the reason why I'm planning it out, why it's so nearby and organically close, is that when people are able to traverse future Silver Falls games and explore, I want people to sort of stumble into this. People will recognize, oh, wait a second, this is the duck pond, right? Okay, cool. And then the people that are playing those games in the future will walk over and they'll notice this battle area. And then they'll say, oh, wait a second. Okay, so the enemies were actually approaching the duck pond really closely. And I can also use this area in future Silver Falls games as just plain battle areas. So, for example, in 3 Down Stars, you had Frontier Fighters and you had missions that took place in different environments that were enclosed environments where people could fight enemies in enclosed areas. That's something that I'd like to use this area for. So just for my own sanity, I'm just going to start placing bushes here, just to help me keep track visually of what we are looking at. Okay, there we go. Just so I know, for my peace of mind, because I want enemies to approach from the top to the side, so I'm going to start filling in the sides, but I don't want anything in the middle. I can have grass, and things and whatnot, but I'll fill in the sides now. Okay. I keep saying I'm going to catch up with the chat. Let me go and do that now. Let's see, Rashadzi. Funnily enough, people are still making Sega Genesis and Dreamcast homebrew games. Oh man, those are so great. I would really like to make some Dreamcast and Genesis games, but I've got my hands full at the moment, don't I? I'll get there. I'll get there. That'll be really cool. DS Game Maker reminds me of the Game Maker 8.0. I think that's what the creator of DS Game Maker intended. You know, I think he was also a fan of Game Maker. I grew up with Game Maker. I was a big fan. I started on RPG Maker 98, then went to 2000. I went to Game Maker after that, and then after that I went to Unity. David Klein. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for coming to hang out. More people should make homebrews. Your retro old Nintendo style is amazing. The DS XL is my favorite console currently. I love this thing. The screen is fantastic on this guy. It just looks so fantastic. I'm just gonna go ahead and boot it up here. I'm having a problem with all of my. I'm having this on even my older 3DS consoles. I'm getting yellowing in the corners. Can you guys let me know in the comments? Are you getting yellowing on the corners? Because my DSi XL, this is one of my favorite screens to look at. It's just so sharp. Oh, it's nice and clean. It's vibrant. But I'm getting yellowing on my DSi XL, which is a little bit of a bummer. Yeah, duck season. Woo! I have some debugging. This is a debugging room, I think. I think if I click on this duck, it quacks. Oh no, it didn't. Just a funny built-in sound effect. But this was what I was doing to make sure that my environments would animate correctly. I was testing. This is an old build. I was testing the touch functionality for all that, and it did animate correctly, and I was optimizing graphics and whatnot. So yeah, are you guys getting yellowing on your screens? My original 3DS has yellowing. Oh no, even my new 3DS, some of them are yellowing, which is a bummer. So if the screen turns white, if it's like a white content on the screen, I can see it. But in general, it doesn't really affect the gameplay all that much, AirTab. I actually pulled my 3DS out the drawer for the first time in years a few days ago. Been playing Ocarina of Time and having a real nostalgia binge. Nice, nice. I like turning on Ocarina of Time once in a while, and oh man, it just looks so fantastic, doesn't it? Dream Pilot. Maybe I'm talking nonsense, but maybe Photoshop automatically assigns a palette based on the colors used, as opposed to a generic one. I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm not an expert in Photoshop. Gaming is about stopping to look at the puddles. Yeah, sometimes you see a puddle and you think, man, that's a good puddle. What was the was it Watch Dogs where I think the developers showed off really nice puddles and the game launched, and then the puddles didn't look so great and people were really angry? What was that? Was that Watch Dogs? Oh, I don't know, but I just think that's very funny. Okay, I need to get some smaller trees in here now. So let me go to. Actually, no. I think I've got a small one here. I'm gonna try adding. One here just to see if it's smaller. Let's see. Oh, that one's already in there. Okay. What about this one? Let's see what that tree looks like. Oh, that's real big. Okay, I'm just going to stick with these. Okay, I'm looking at my scale here. Okay, I think my bushes are too big. I might come back and I'll fix it later, Right now, I just want to make a sort of a test environment, really, Just going to drop some trees, and that's too dense. That's way too dense. See, I don't really like how dense that is. Just paint it by hand. No big deal. Okay. Hold on, that one's a little too... Yeah. And what I want to do is just place this in... we're going to do another render for Game Maker, DS. So I don't actually know the scale. This is why I'm doing this. Is I'm just going to place this. I'm going to do the render. I'm going to see how it fits on the screens. Okay. And then I need like, see, for the Switch version, I need to totally block off this area because the enemies come out of this area, right? So I need to make sure that you can't really see much beyond that point. So that's something, a design consideration that I need to take into account. I'll put some of these fellows in here as well. So this is how I try to make forest have dimensionality. And again, I don't even know if this is the right height that I'm creating these trees. I think I actually need to make them bigger. This is how I try to create some dimensionality here. Is you have these trees, and then they sort of, these smaller trees sort of cover the bald spots on these taller trees here. And that helps give dimensionality to your forest here. So I try to place them in a way where I know that the camera is going to be, I know that the player is going to be approaching from a particular direction, you know. So yeah, I don't need to populate that top area with details at the moment. And I know that the Switch version, you know, will be looking into here. I can put bushes in there so you can't see past. So I'll take these bushes, reduce the size, you know, something like that. Oh, maybe that's too small. Okay. Right. So yeah, it's not a real-time strategy. It's more like because you don't control the units, you know? So it's, again, I can't really just place it into a genre because I am not setting out to create a genre game. It just plays like how you would command a duck army. The map, Link, Mikyu, hi. Thanks for coming and hang out. Good to see you. The map of this Nintendo DS game looks like it will be large and the textures will be of good quality. Hey, thank you for that. Yeah. So I'm creating, you know, the game because you will be able to play this on the Switch. So the Switch will use the high quality 3 graphics, and then I'm pre-rendering the graphics and then having them on the DS as pre-rendered. So it doesn't, you know, it won't have 3D graphics, but it'll have quality pre-render. And it's quality because advanced lighting, you know, and whatnot. So I do want fog and whatnot in this area. So what I'm actually going to do is just create a fog volume here. Ooh, that's a bit of a tongue twister a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to create a fog volume primitive. A fog volume. I've recently purchased a fog solution from, I don't know the name of the developer off the top of my head, but it's a really great solution here that lets me create these fog volumes. And I'll just show you setting it up here. So I want this area to be kind of creepy, you know. So on the DS I'll have, I can have sort of fog effects, you know, through sprites that are, you know, slightly transparent and whatnot. So it'll be a combination of real-time advanced visual effects here and lighting, and then I'll be blending that with sprite work on DS Game Maker. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're just going to try and get this area to look really cool. We'll pre-render it and then we'll see what it looks like running on the DS. We could even deploy it to the DS and we can see it running. Wouldn't that be pretty neat? Okay, let me just quickly adjust some settings on this fella here. So this is a fog volume. Let's see. I'll adjust the Z, but if you are in Australia, you'd call it Z. Oh, can you imagine how weird it would sound if you called Dragon Ball Z Dragon Ball Z? I mean, that doesn't sound right, does it? That doesn't seem right at all. Okay, so let me go ahead and rotate this fog volume here. So right now it's too thick, you know. This fog is, but how cool is that going to look, right? So I'm just going to give it a bit of height fog because this area, battles occur at night, and I may have some occur around like sunset time as well. But I need to make sure that I adhere to the lore of Silver Falls. So these enemies will only be appearing at nighttime, and partly also there's a logical reason for gameplay is that you can recruit assist animals to help you in battle. So that means animals of other species, and I don't want players to get confused if there's enemies that are animals, and then you have your own, units that are animals. Like, say there's an enemy bear, and then you deploy your bear. Visually, that's going to get very confusing. So that's why all of the battles for duck season, they're just going to be versus cryptids. You will not be fighting other animals. And thematically, it just doesn't look right watching, your army of ducks fight a grizzly bear. Thematically, that doesn't fit in with what I want to achieve with duck season. Okay, let's introduce some noise in there. See, that's not quite right, is it? Ooh, what are my values here? Reduce the density on that scale. 4. So you can adjust this, you can spend days adjusting this. So, let's see. Well, yeah. You can spend a while. You can spend a while adjusting that, and I don't want to spend too long on that. So I'm going to optimize these settings specifically for overhead. And see, I can do multiple renders, right? So I can do multiple setups of fog so that the fog looks different, so that each time you come back to this area, because all the battles will occur in this one area. And by having slightly different foliage from time to time, by having different fog and slightly different lighting, it won't look boring, because it'll look different, slightly different each time. And that sort of variation is what keeps it interesting. So let's go ahead and now mix up the terrain a bit, because the terrain looks boring, so we'll do something about it. I'm just going to leave the fog there for now. I'm not sure if someone's knocking on the front door, or if that is a bird trying to eat my front door. So if anyone's not familiar with Australia, we have very large birds called cockatoos. And they're basically normal flying type Pokemon. And if you don't feed them, if they find out that you will feed them, and if you stop feeding them, they'll destroy your house. They'll rip the gutter off your house. They'll eat load-bearing pillars. It's just basically a bad time. So unfortunately, I have a couple normal flying type Pokemon out the front of my house. And if I don't pay attention to them, they get very angry. Okay. So what I like to do is I paint beneath my trees. This helps give it a more organic look, as there's now a root system underneath the tree that helps it look organic, and it looks like it's actually an organic environment. I like spending a lot of time outdoors, and this is just something that I observed outdoors, is that you're never just going to see trees that are just sitting there, They always generally have like a bald spot underneath where grass won't grow because they block the light, and then there's a root system. So I design my environments taking, what I see from my hiking and camping trips, and I just sort of apply that to my my world design and my level design. It sounds very windy outside. Yeah, I'm also hoping, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to implement a rain visuals, but I'd like to have rain, thunderstorms and whatnot, and just a couple different, aspects, so that when you take on missions, it'll look interesting, So, I'd like different weather effects. And again, for the Switch version, there will be, if anyone isn't familiar with the Silver Falls games yet, there are these objects called Starglass. And I don't want to spoil too much, but in the Switch version of Duck Season, you will be able to equip pieces of Starglass to your ducks to give them temporary elemental abilities. And so, if it's raining outside, if you equip the electric or the cryo, which is ice, then you'll be able to deal more damage, etc., etc. All right, so we've painted that, you know. Let's go ahead and get, you know, what else can we put in here? We have some of this rocky texture. Let's get some rocks in here, why don't we? So now I'm just gonna, I really need to load in some other brushes because the brushes I have in here, these are the most vanilla brushes. I was meaning to sort of load in the, another brush pack the other day, and I was just too busy. I just had so much to do. I can't nudge that with the arrows, which is kind of irritating. So, yeah, let's get a very bespoke feel to this. I don't want to just use mass brushes, you know. It's just, when you're working in a fine area like this and the detail really counts, I want it to look interesting. I want it to have a handcrafted feel to it. So there we go. You can see I'm using tessellation shaders as well, so the rocks will actually come up out of the ground as well. Yeah. So you can see it looks like the rocks are growing out of the grass, which is pretty neat. Okay, let me catch up with the chat here. Let me see. I'll catch up with the chat. Envy, yes. Duck Season will have Code Linker. So the Switch will have Code Linker in and out. The DS version will only have Code Linker out at launch. Okay. And that's because it's extremely complex. Code Linker, if you're not familiar, allows Silver Falls games across any platform to connect with each other and exchange content, so characters and cryptids can cross over. Yeah. But it's difficult trying to create that in Game Maker DS. Let's see. Gino saying, I'm telling you, Wabbit Season for Wonder Swan. Mad money, baby. I don't have an SDK for the Wonder Swan, but as I mentioned earlier in the stream, just as a little bit of a joke, I was thinking about it the other night because I have an SDK set up for PSP. I have deployed to PSP, so I can make PSP games. And I was thinking it would be very funny if I made Rabbit Season for PSP. It would just be fun. Very funny. And the only people that would know about it are the people that are here hanging out in the live stream right now. Noah Gladish, hey, good to see you. Thanks for coming to hang out. Can you guys let me know if the music's too loud? Because I can't really tell right now. So, Noah Gladish, hey Jerrel, seeing this is really cool because I recently decided I'm gonna try to go to university for game development. Hey, congratulations! That's really great. I hope you have a great time on your journey, and I think you're gonna have just so much fun. It's gonna be so great. Yeah, you know what? Check in. You can always comment on the videos. You can send a message on Discord or Twitter. But let me know how that's going. I always like to hear how people are going on their game development journey. Look, I'm still on my game development journey. I'm going to be learning how to make games for the rest of my life. It's always exciting hearing from people who are on their development journey, and even just starting out is always fun to hear as well. So I'm cheating a little bit on these rocks because I think they're so interesting to look at, and they will also catch the light and they'll cast shadows. I'm cheating a little bit. I'm relying on them for a whole lot of detail, but I think it's because they look good, you know. So it's a little bit of an easy way out. And the more I click, you can see the more that they poke up through the grass, and it looks like they're sort of pushing the grass aside, and they stick out of the grass. Otherwise, the grass is going to look very plain. Let me go ahead and hide this fog volume for now. I'll hide the fog volume because it's making it a little hard to see the work that I'm doing on the grass. So I'm going to hide that for now. And you know what, Noah, if you have any questions about game development, feel free to ask. Whether it's using, you know, a particular software, or if you have, you know, a question that's more related to sort of development philosophies, feel free to ask. Okay, and I think I'm going to move on to another texture now because I feel like I'm relying on this a little too much, and I would like it to look interesting in other ways as well. So this is very green, but also part of that is because the stream quality, something about my settings on OBS has changed. I don't know why it's so dull and green right now. Anyway, I'd like to get some browns, and I'll get some more rocks. I really like these little rocks in here. I think they look good, but in this particular spot, I think they're too heavily concentrated. So what I will do is go ahead and I'll just dial that down a little bit. So I'll get rid of some of those. just dial that down just a little bit. Okay, so we have this sort of, I just want to see what this looks like, because I generally was reserving this color for the side of the pond. I'm just going to start, oh yeah, okay, that's fine. We can use some of that, or we can use some of this. Hold on, I'm going to increase my brush size now that I'm no longer painting those rocks. I don't need to be so precious about it. That's a little too big, isn't it? Yeah, and then in just a minute, I'll wrap this up in just a minute, and then we'll take some pre-renders and we'll load them onto the DS version of the game. So as you can see, this is what it takes to simultaneously create a game for the Switch and the Nintendo DS at the same time. All right, so I'm looking at that, and that's fine, right? I just want to add some color variation, but I don't want to make it look like there's these random ugly splotches. And what I might actually do to add variety, so for the DS version, I might actually take multiple renders, right? I might actually have some, so some levels will occur down here, and then I can have some missions that occur up here, and then some missions that occur up here. And then that'll add variety, because if you only have the one spot where your battles keep showing, like, you know, mechanically they're all going to be the same, but if it just looks the exact same over and over again, the player's going to get very bored. So you have to be able to mix things up a fair bit, you know. So let's go ahead and just add a bit more variety around here. I'll come in with my rocks, and I can blend with my rocks, and then after this we'll add some grass. Okay, great. Alright, and of course if you have any questions you can feel free to ask them here in the chat now too. Okay, so that's looking kind of interesting. That's starting to look more organic, isn't it? That's where I had my nice puddles. Those are my nice puddles over there. There we go. Okay, so we have some rocks. I don't really like how splotchy that is. That's looking a little more organic now. We've got some dirt. If you have just grass, you know, like just pure grass, it looks very plain and inorganic. It looks very default, if you know what I mean. You know, like you've just hit the fill button on your terrain. Okay. Ooh, let me catch up with the chat again. Okay. Is it easier to work with Nintendo DS Game Maker? Link MiQ. This is free to use. Go ahead and look up. You'll find a GitHub for it on Google. It's going to be one of the first things that you look up. But there's a guide on the GitHub on how to install it. It's fun, but it's very difficult to use, Link MiQ. So, like, say for example, one of the difficulties you'll find is there's no way to sort all of your game objects. They'll all be present. So all of my buttons, all of my player characters, all of my room managers, they're all just splotched together, and you cannot sort them. You can move up and down, but there's no way to sort of right-click and say I want all my things. So that's why I use a prefix system, you know, buttons, BTN, so I know what are buttons. If something manages a room, it's a system object. Duck dropper, you know, that manages my ability to drop ducks onto the battlefield. So it's easy to use in that you don't need to know programming. It uses blocks like Game Maker. That's, you know, the older Game Maker and whatnot. But this is fun. It's free. Anyone can use it, and you could make your own DS games and deploy them. And there are guides. The community on this is really great. Admittedly, it's not a huge community, but maybe we can change that. You know, if we build up the community and make it stronger, we can always improve the thing that we're using. So, you know, you can see the sprites. So it's easy to use in that you don't need programming, and it comes with example games, so you can very quickly make your own game, put in your own graphics. You can, you know, probably within a couple hours make your own game and deploy it to actual hardware. And it's quite fun and satisfying. So I'd say give it a try. Just look up DS Game Maker. It is free. Okay. I'm going to try to... I'm just a little concerned that if I start dropping sand, which sounds like a slang for something like a meme, like, oh, I saw like I dropping sand the other day. You know, I'm afraid it's going to stand out a little bit. So I'm just going to start dropping a little bit, and I'm just going to, yeah, oof, that sticks out too much. I don't think I'm going to use that. what I will use now, let's see, what is that? Let me just, okay, I might replace that because that doesn't look, that doesn't look that different. I might replace that later on. For now, I'm just going to start dropping some rocks in here just to make it have a bit more visual interest. So these are tiny rocks, just like that. I'm going to reduce the strength of that because I don't want it to pop through so much. So let's go ahead and put that down to 60. I'll make my brush size 4. I'd like a very handcrafted, bespoke look here. Oh, that's too much. I may have gone too far in some places. There you go, some rocks there, some rocks there. And what I will probably do is drop some branches and logs around the place as well to help it have a more lived-in look. So don't have those available now, but I'll go grab them later on. I'll put logs and dead branches that have dropped. I'll grab them from another Silver Falls game that I have set up already, so I can just sort of copy and paste the assets in. Okay. I don't like how that came through there. Too much. Too much. Okay, great, great. Alright. And you can see they don't really pop out. Just this is for performance implications. The terrain doesn't really pop out until you get close to a certain extent. You can change that in the settings, but once you get this close enough, you see these rocks are sort of coming out of the ground a little bit, and they look interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and just paint some... I should add some flowers. I'm going to get some flowers. I don't think I have any set up right now, so I'm just going to use some grass for now. I'll come back later on as well, but I just need dimensionality here. Okay, that's looking a bit dull. I think I have something here that is a bit yellow, so I'm going to add that in. I have wheat. So what I will do is now add a new grass detail. I will edit details. I will add detail mesh. I create my own meshes. I don't use Unity's built-in grass mesh. I think it does not look good at all. So I created my own mesh that has a curved look because it looks... What I've created is designed to look pretty good from different angles. I go pretty high on noise spread, and that allows a greater variation between your small and your big instances of the grass. Okay. This is my default setup. Well, not. I would like it to be default, so I didn't have to keep entering it. But these are usually the settings that I find works best for the style of grass that I want. So I put those in. You can copy those and see what you think of that. So I'm going to select that. That's called wheat. This is something that I've created for other Silver Falls games. And it's got a yellow look to it, which is kind of interesting. My frame rate's starting to chug, so I don't know if that's because I've got two cameras rendering. I better disable that one now that I think about it. Yeah, I think that was having an impact. So you can see as you're walking through it, having grass like that makes it interesting. So it now adds dimensionality. So you see you look straight forward, you see how dull that is, it's quite boring. Once you start adding your grass, that breaks up the flatness. There's a design philosophy that I like to consider called breaking the line. And that, let's say you have your terrain, and it's just a flat, you sort of look at that, it's a flat line. That's what I call a line. And you have the sky there, and you have the terrain there. It's very dull looking, right? So my philosophy is called breaking the line, where you need to break up that line. And so say, for example, this is an environment where I've already broken the line. So I've added things in the environment to where now you don't see a straight line, you see interesting shapes. And that's my philosophy, to create something visually interesting. I have a background in photography, so a lot of my considerations come from a photographic standpoint. So again, breaking the line here, if you follow that philosophy, if I look at this, you see there's a line here. There's just a straight, dull, ugly line that's very boring. So I'm going to use a mixture of bushes and grass to break the line. I can place bushes later on. For now, I'm just going to rely on the grass here. And this is so I can have it well considered in terms of the photographic composition, the visual composition. Let me go ahead and just place my grass there. If Noah's still in the chat, you sort of mentioned you were going to start learning. What engine are you going to go for? What are you hoping to learn in terms of the engine? Okay. I've started learning Unreal. I'm going to start learning Godot, but I need to slow my roll because I'm actually still learning how to use DS Game Maker. There's a lot to it. You know, every engine has its own quirks. Okay, so I'm sticking to the green areas where I'm placing this sort of, I call this wheat. You know, it's not wheat, but it has sort of a yellow look to it. So that's just what I call it. It's called wheat. And you can see it started breaking the line visually. Now that visual line is now broken. I'm going to switch to another type of grass now. I'm going to go to mixed. Oh, I could use my nettle as well, but that's kind of performance heavy. So I'll just put some mixed grass down. I want them at different heights as well, so I can see that's, let's go ahead and make that a 6. Yeah. Yeah, you can have enough variation in there. Okay. And see, if I increase the noise spread, that makes the variation between the small and the big ones even greater. Let's make it a 7. Make it a 7. Okay. Great. So now you can see there's a greater variation there. I think that's too tall. I've made that too tall now. Let's leave it at 6 for now. Okay, and then we'll get a bit of ground coverage, and then we're going to do a render. So let's put a bit more of this mixed in here, something like that. And this won't be the only DS game I make. I love all those old consoles. I just want to keep making cool homebrew games, you know. But I do have to balance, you know, my real job, which is making commercial games for the Switch. I have to balance that out. But this is my way of making something cool and free for people to enjoy, something fun, you know. Because we all have a limited budget for games, you know. We all can only spend so much money on games. And I think it's just nice to have a game that was designed with good intentions. Like, I'm not just making like a, oh, here's just like a cheap whatever, here's a free thing, and then there's ads, you know. I think that's ill-intentioned. I just want to make something that was made with good intentions that people can enjoy, and it's just meant for people to enjoy. So you can see I've left the darker areas. I didn't populate those with grass because it makes it look more organic if the bright green areas have grass growing up out of them. What I will do now is I have this ground coverage here. I'm going to drop some of those on the area that doesn't have grass, and it'll give it some dimensionality. And it's not showing up. Is it going under the terrain? Oh, for shame. This guy is going under the terrain. I'm going to see if I can fix that somehow, because the terrain has dimensionality to it. I might have to adjust it. So it's a little, I'm going to have to make some adjustments. So there is a bird trying to get into my house. He might be chewing through the front door now. So I suspect that I will have some expensive repairs to make, because this normal flying types, am I right? Always trying to break into your house and eat your crackers. So that might be too. Is that all right? Yeah. So you can see I like using this these sort of ground coverage because they add dimensionality to the ground. They're not flat. You know, I will make them a bit thicker, but they add interesting geometry to the environment. So I'm going to make them taller, minimum height, because I want them to stick out more. Oh, minimum height. Oh, let's make that 9. That's too much. Okay, do they stick up enough now? Yeah, I just want them to pop out more, you know? Okay, this area looks a little plain. And let's start moving the sun around, and then we can have a look. I'm going to move the sun around now so I can see what that looks like, because now I'm in the shadow here, aren't I? So let's go ahead and grab the sun, which I'm not sure where he is here. Okay. And what we're going to do next, we're going to render this out as a night scene. So I'm going to duplicate this scene. I'm going to adjust the settings so it looks like it's nighttime, because these scenes are supposed to be at night. Okay. I'll go back to my terrain and I'll just start dropping my plants. Okay, I'm going to use my ground coverage. I'll put some there, some there. I know that the camera's not going to spend a whole lot of time up there, but you don't want to oversaturate an area with detail. You never want things to be oversaturated, because it's not about, oh, well, it'd be, oh, well, maybe it would be realistic if there was a ton of, leaves overgrowing here. You need to balance out realism with expression, visual expression, and your level design, your world design. What is extremely important is that the designer has created this environment with well-considered expression. You are expressing an idea to someone. Someone needs to quickly look at the environment and understand it, and then the longer they look at it, the more they understand. If you've created an environment that just has so much detail that there's no real clear expression, there's no clear sense of what the designer was trying to express, if people can't parse that, then I think that leads to poor level design. So it's important to consider exactly what it is you're trying to express. So let's go ahead and populate. So there's puddles here. There'd probably be some green stuff around the puddles, because I will use this area. So I'll have areas where it'll be the hub area where the player will go through their menu, and they'll adjust their ducks, as it were. You can level up your ducks. You can equip some useful boost items. Yeah, so the intention of what you are trying to communicate and express is what is important. The amount of detail and having tons of detail, that's not important, and that doesn't lead to good design. It's about what you want to express and what you need to visually communicate. So I think that's looking okay now. I think that's a fair amount of detail. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go ahead and create some renders here. I'll do a top screen and a bottom screen, and then we'll go ahead and plug it into DS Game Maker. Let me just catch up with the chat real quick while I sip my coffee. You should add one of the cockatoos to Silver Falls. Honestly, I wouldn't know how to balance it. If I put a cockatoo in Silver Falls, the stats would be off the charts. I'd have a tough time balancing that. Chris B, hey, thanks for coming to hang out. Good to see you. Just came in. Hope things are good. What was your thoughts with Unreal? It's powerful. It's so powerful, but you need to learn how to let Unreal do what it needs to do. Unfortunately, all of my experience with game engines in the past has been very hands-on, where the user has to do a huge amount of work. And with Unreal, the interface and the philosophy behind using it is opposite to that. And with Unreal, it's more about understanding the interface and then getting out of the way so that Unreal can do what it needs to do. So I'm still having a tough time using it. I'm figuring it out, but it's going to be quite a challenge. It will be a challenge to learn to use Unreal. So I'm going to my scenes. Okay, Silver Falls environment. So for anyone that's sort of interested in like UFO and all that, the stories and that whatnot, this environment is called Zamora Valley, if anyone gets the reference. So Duck Season takes place in Zamora Valley, and then Zamora Valley will appear in other Silver Falls games as well. So we're gonna this time let's just make some changes real quick so that we can make this a nighttime scene. So I will click on my directional light. Let's see. Well, first, hold on real quick here. Let's just change the skybox here. I don't know what I've got. I don't know what I got. I don't have any skyboxes set up, for that. So I'm just gonna take this one. I'm just gonna make it real dark. How about that? Yeah, that cockatoo is tearing up my front door. That's gonna be destroyed when I go to check it. I'm here in my studio, and I can hear the cockatoo tearing up my front door. So that's a real shame. I think it's going to be an expensive repair. So, what a jerk. What a real jerk. Okay, those are clouds. It's a cloud volume I have. Let's see. Whoa, that's creepy looking, isn't it? What if I just disable it for now? Oh no, that's okay. That's the fog volume. That's hold on. That's for my night fog or my yeah. Then I have the clouds overhead. Let me go ahead and adjust those. Fog volume clouds. I'm just going to disable that for now, just to make things easier. I'm getting really uneasy because I can hear like my front door being dismantled here. Guys, I have to stop. I need to tell this cockatoo to go away. I'm sorry. I'm going to make myself a fresh coffee as well. BRB. I'll be right back, guys. I can hear it. It's just dismantling my whole house. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. What computer mouse do I use here? I have 2 computer mouses here. Okay, I'm just going to have to use instant transmission. I'll be right back. No, come on.
Oh, I'm back. Hey, so my front door is torn to pieces. So I've got like that metal thing, like a metal thing on the front, and the cockatoo destroyed it. It ate through the metal thing. It's all jacked up now. So hey, that's unfortunate. That's really bad. Anyway, so hey, I have a question for anyone in the chat. Is who does anyone here use Twitch? Live stream the fight, please. um, has I someone mentioned the other day that I should do a Twitch because you can build an audience on Twitch. Um, has anyone done a Twitch? I've never done a Twitch. I don't understand it, but I should probably start learning it, right? Um, are you, Super Smash 97? Are you switching engines with this game, or will it still be Unity? For the time being, it'll still be Unity. I'm waiting for some business things. There's some other stuff, but I'll be learning other game engines. There are things in Unity that I've already have developed very far, so I'll have to complete those games because I need to finish them and launch them. Let's see here, but yeah, and I right now I would really like to just make some free homebrew games. I think people are just irritated and stressed out from everything in the game industry is just really irritating and stressful. I think just some good quality homebrew games that are designed to be full, robust titles that are created with the best of intentions. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, you have to sign up to my Patreon or do this or do that. No in-app purchases or anything. I just want to make something cool for people. I just want to relax for a bit, And I think it's more relaxing to make homebrew games because I don't need to worry about any sort of monetization, and I can just make something and think, man, I'm going to make the coolest thing I possibly can, and I'm just going to share it with people. And so we're all kind of burned out right now, I think. So I just want to make some homebrew games. I'm working on Pokemon Mini as well, which is going to be very fun. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. Hey, so if you live in America, I recommend getting those packets of instant mix apple cider. Make yourself a coffee, and drop an apple cider packet in there. You'll thank me, unless you really don't like those apple cider packets. In which case, don't worry about it. Rashad, see, we gotta donate you a new graphics card. LOL. Well, I use a laptop for my main development, and it's a, I don't know, it's got a GeForce GTX thing, but if you have multiple cameras open in your scene and they're all doing post processing, it gets pretty expensive on the processor. So, you know. Okay, so I'm making this nighttime. That's what I'm doing here. Alright, so I'm setting a nighttime color. We got that guy. We got our night box. It doesn't look real nighttime-y, does it? Anyway, let's go ahead and swap this out now. Let's see how long it takes to make it look like nighttime. So now this is our main sunlight. I'm going to set it over here, which is nice and cool. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that makes it nice and cool. I want a nice cold color. And I'm considering, so I'm going to deploy this across various DS hardware to see what it will look like. So I'll actually adjust the colors specifically for the DS screens and then also for Switch screens. So I'll, the DS version will have its own graphics, but I want to make sure the colors are really vibrant and they really pop, So if I kill the lighting, what's it look like? Okay, we have some fog. Okay, so it's not pitch black. The fog, you can see like there is some fog that sort of catches the light a certain way. So I'm just going to keep cranking it up until I think it's right, Woo! 1.2. So here is the issue that I'm facing. With Unity, I can have real-time lighting. So what I'm actually going to do, so, I'll just show you by example here. Oop. Let's say this is the lighting, for the nighttime on the Switch version in real time. Okay?
and then we will go like this. Where did it create it? Where is it? Why would you put it all the way over there? I don't understand the world. I'm over here, right? I'm over here trying to make a battle environment for my duck army. Okay, I just need to recenter again. F to recenter. Okay, now let me try this again. I want to create a light, and hopefully it doesn't send it off somewhere super far away. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. So for the Switch version, I can have real-time dynamic lighting. So I can do something I can do a little something like this. You know? And in general, like when you're in dark environments and you have a sort of candle or a flashlight, it's best to make that intensity, you crank that intensity right up. Maybe that's too up. But that's how you get night scenes to look convincing, you know? So I'll have fog effects. For example, let's just go ahead and grab something here. Let's just grab one of these. So here's what it'll look like on the Switch. I like using these guys here. Can I please just grab one of these, or what's the deal here? What's the deal with that? I don't know why I turned into Seinfeld just then. Don't mind that. It's a medical condition. It just happens. Okay. Yeah, I've never done a Twitch. I think I watched a Twitch once because someone told me about it, that a Twitch player was playing Ghoul Busters. I think someone told me to check it out. So I think I did a Twitch then. But other than that, I don't really know anything about a Twitch. I don't actually use Twitch. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust that. And so something like that I think looks very interesting, you know. That fog might be a little too thick now. Let's go ahead and thin it up a little bit. But this is how the game will look on the Switch. You'll have battles at night. You'll have the sort of, you know, real-time lighting like that. Your ducks will be running around. You'll have this creepy dynamic fog. You'll be looking through the forest like that. I think it'll be quite interesting to look at. On the DS, though, because I can't have effects like that, I need to figure out how to get the graphics to look interesting in their own way. So maybe I'll have, you know, because if I don't have this lighting here, you won't be able to really tell that it's nighttime. That's the difficulty. See, so what if I have preset lighting, you know, and it just sits in certain spots? I think I might have to do that. I might just pause this fog. I do kind of like it. Maybe I'll have some of this. I'll have some of that as part of the pre-render. Maybe I will do that. Okay, so I'm going to take a pre-render now. I'm going to do that for 2 screens, and it'll just be oh, that's kind of neat. Okay, that's the daytime fog though. See, I need to adjust that. So what we'll do now is we're going to prepare a pre-render. I don't know if you can hear that on the mic, but the cockatoo that was out there earlier destroying my front door is now screaming because I've told him to stop, and he didn't want to stop. Okay. And of course, it says no shadows. You want to go ahead and put on some shadows there, and that'll get it looking real interesting, right? Okay, so I need to make separate lighting for the DS. So having seen this scene now, I now understand that I cannot share the lighting between the Switch and the DS version. I need to create lighting specifically for the DS version. So I'm going to experiment now with some different lighting here. I'm already not liking I'm not liking this. Okay, so that's going to look, I already know that's going to look very dull. So I'm just going to go back to this. I'm going to make it a little more pale. So what I will do now is actually, I need the blues to be stronger. So I will go to my room color. And this is the darkness. It's the darkness. It's the color of the darkness. No, that's the room. I think purple is a bit too warm, so I'm going to wind that down. So I'm going to make it colder, right? It's got a nice cold blue for the darkness. So edgy. I think I'm going to go to Hot Topic after this, guys. I'm feeling so edgy right now. Yeah, I can hear that cockatoo. He's just tearing down my front door again. Real shame. That's going to be a real expensive repair. Okay, so it's very distracting. All I can hear is my front door being dismantled by a cockatoo. So we'll do that. And so for the DS, so what I'm now doing is I'm just preparing a render for the DS. I'll go ahead and just do a couple of these. Oh, you know, it'd be really cool. Okay, so I'm gonna wind down the intensity on these lights here. When I was setting this up, I was considering the real-time lighting, but because these are going to be only used for the DS pre-rendered backgrounds, I'm going to reduce the intensity on these lights. Let's go ahead and wind it down. So they're at 2 right now. 1.5. I'll go 1.6. 1.5. 1.6. I'll try 1.6 and I'll just see how that looks. Because you need to cast light and shadow in order for your geometry, for your shapes to be visible, right? Right. Otherwise you can't even tell those are trees, you know. But what I will do at the far end, and I'll have to keep adjusting this, you know, per environment. What I think would be really cool is if at the far end it was red. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah. So where the enemies are. So I will create a rig. And just make it nice. Oh wow. Yeah, that's cool. Well, that's cool. Okay. So we'll need the range to be a bit bigger on that. So the enemies are coming out of that direction, and I'm kind of looking at it here. I'm kind of looking at it. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and pre-render this now, and let's slap this fella onto the DS. So I would like enemies to appear. I'm really going to have to consider this, how they move from the top screen to the bottom screen, because you'd have to program them being able to walk from the top to the bottom screen. I may not even be able to have that feature where they can go from the top to the bottom, because that means that your hitboxes from the top also need to be able to reach to the bottom to the top screen. So this will have to be a feasibility test. I don't even know if that's going to be feasible. So let's go ahead and grab our camera. And we're going to now pose a render. Okay. Global grab, and I'm now going to prepare to put this on the DS. So we now have real-time lighting. And I just think it'd be great if I could do like a full game that had these kind of graphics, you know. And I would like to. Where it's like you get to explore the environments. You know, what if I made a game that just sort of used these assets, but instead of playing as the ducks, you now had like sort of this sort of RPG action adventure, and you can explore these and fight enemies and find items and all that stuff. Wouldn't that be cool? You know, those are the things that I sort of consider when I'm working on these. Oh, you know why it's slowed down? Because it's constantly rendering this at a high res. That's why it got a little bit sluggish there. So I'm going to pull back now. I'm going to zoom out. And I need to consider my field of view, because now my field of view is too wide. You see how the trees sort of fan out a bit? That's not how 2D games look, you know. So what I actually need to do is reduce my field of view and pull the camera way back. And this is how you get that 2D look. Gee, these visuals aren't too bad, you know. You could zoom right in there and it looks pretty good. So I think the Switch version is going to look all right, you know. I think the Switch version has a nice sort of visual aesthetic to it, you know. It's not hyper realistic, but there's some stylization to it that makes it, you know, interesting to look at. Okay. Let's go ahead and zoom that on out. So now the trees have more of that two-dimensional. It's not exactly isometric because there is still perspective to it. So I want to have 2 views. I want to have one for the top screen, one for the bottom screen. Let's go ahead and try this. Okay, we'll try that. So you can see the enemies will come from the top screen. And there's a bit of red, so it looks quite menacing. The enemies have their lightsabers, you know. And you can still tell it's nighttime, right? Even though that there are bright lights, there are these lights here. They're quite bright, but you can still tell that it's nighttime. Now we have an interesting look to it. Let's just go ahead and render this. Let's slap it on the DS here. Okay, we'll hit take a screenshot, and let's see what our end result is. And you know, feel free to relax and have a sip of your coffee here. We'll have some ASMR. Sungran ASMR. That's microphone's down there, isn't it? Okay, so this is our top screen, and there's a fair bit of balancing that I would like to do here. But I'm just going to have a look in, and gee, that doesn't look too bad, does it? You got your rocks coming up from the grass there. So, you know, we don't need to AI upscale this if we want to port, you know, the DS version of Duck Season to the Switch 2, which is going to be called the Swooch. That's a U with an umlaut. And, yeah, things look all right. I would like more realistic shaders for the trees that catch the light. They should have, like, white highlights, you know, as they catch the light. That's something that I would like to work on a fair bit. So, okay, we'll get that later. Okay, so what we want to do now, so that's going to be the render for the top screen. Let's go ahead and get the bottom screen render. So we'll change our angle. We're going to look down. Change the global. Okay. So I'm just going to consider, you kind of see that. I'm going to try and leave a gap for the DS hinge, as it were. Something like that. Okay, and I'm going to slide it back a fair bit. I should have built a gimbal for this guy, because now it's going to be off-center a little bit. But that's fine, this is just a test, you know. It's just a test. It's going to be a little off-center, but I will build a gimbal for it. I'm actually really pleased with how this looks, you know. Have a look at that. It's, you know, it's a particular look that I want for Silver Falls. I don't think I ever want Silver Falls to be hyper-realistic. I would like it to have, in terms of the color, I want a strong, contrasty, interesting look, you know? That where the colors are interesting, the contrast is interesting. Can I just, okay, I want to redo that. Let's just call that it. Let's just render that out. Okay, and then let's go ahead and slap that bad boy onto the DS. Great, and that's our bottom screen. And I think that looks pretty interesting. What do you guys think? Okay, let's go ahead and slap these bad boys into Photoshop. I'm quite pleased with these colors. You know, something that I really want to focus on with my upcoming games is just something that's got a real vibe to it, where you look at it, you just sort of really, you can just enjoy the vibe, you know. Okay. Link Mickey, will Silver Falls Duck Season be shooting, and what camera mode will you use? So Duck Season doesn't have shooting or anything like that. You're managing your ducks, so you control everything through menus, and so I'll show you what battles are going to look like pretty soon here. Okay, is that enemies are approaching from the top screen, and with the battle system you will be managing your duck units, and so you're responding to as the situation unfolds, basically what the enemies are doing and how you're going to respond to that. Which units you should deploy. It's all about resource and unit management, because you do not have infinite units. You have a limited number of units, and when all your ducks die, you now need to go and play the different modes of the game so that you can build up more units. You can accrue more resources so that you can do better in battles. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to check my interpolation here. I'm going to go bicubic sharper so that there's a bit more sharpness in terms of the final detail. And I think I'm just, see, I don't want to go straight to the edge because I know that there's going to be a little bit of transparency there, so I won't go straight to the edge. I'll just go a little bit like that. See, I told you there's going to be a little bit of transparency if you go straight to the edge. So let's go ahead and just nudge that. Actually, I'll just center it. Click those, hit the center button. Nice. Okay. So that's our PG. And of course you can do any post-processing here that you want. I don't know if I would want it. See, here's the thing. I'm looking at this and it looks blurry, but I think that's because of my OBS settings are a little blurry and my capture card is a little blurry. So I actually don't really want to do any post-processing on this. Like, you could make it more sharper like that. Oh wait, I can see it here on my proper monitor here. I might put some, oh gee, that looks pretty nice. I like the colors on that. I really like the colors on that. Gee whiz, you know. Okay. Alright. So I'll just copy the text here. So that's the BG. And I'll just say battle bottom 1. then we'll get the top. So, I'll try to make it so the enemies walk down from the top. Hold on, let's redo our filter. Do the unsharp masking. Oh. We can press Control F as a shortcut as well. Control F. Gee, this is... And you know what'll be fun? Okay, you know what I will do? So after the video, I'll actually just... I'll deploy this ROM and I'll do a beta so that if there's any of the Patreons that are hanging out, what I will do is I'll post this ROM on Patreon where you can see the stuff. You can deploy it on your hardware and you can see what it looks like running on your hardware. So after this, I'll do that just to thank the Patreons for supporting, and it's a massive help, the Patreons supporters. So I'll make just a little test ROM that they can deploy, and they can see what the graphics look like for themselves. Okay, I won't do animated environments for battles because constantly changing the background is quite demanding on the hardware, and I would like to keep the processing budget for the DS. Because there's going to be a ton of sprites on screen. There's going to be a ton of enemies coming from the top screen. You're going to be constantly deploying ducks, and of course the ducks have different abilities, so you want to manage your resources. And also there's a sense of, if your ducks die, they're dead. And it's like, which ducks are you willing to sacrifice for the greater good? And once they die, you'll have to go and collect more ducks. Okay, so I did the wrong thing again. I didn't render them at the right color depth, so let me go ahead and fix that. Gee, I'm pretty happy with how these colors are turning out. My drag and drop again. Okay. I do my Control Alt Shift S. Alright, and that is PNG 8. Bottom 1, we'll replace that. Alt Control Shift S. And of course, here's what we can do. So this is something that top. This is what I will employ. So now this is just a backdrop, right? You can't have anything above that. What I will do is I'll have some trees that are rendered separately on their own layer, and then I can put the trees in as a sprite so the sprites can be seen going underneath the trees, which will make it interesting to look at. The trees will be along the edges, and that will give it dimensionality so it doesn't look like it's just a flat backdrop. Okay, so let's go ahead and load these into our DS Game Maker now, and we'll see what our battlefield will look like. So, backgrounds, right-click, add background, load from file. We'll collect that BG Battle Bottom 1, BG Battle Bottom 1, and accept. Then we will add our next one. Load file, BG Battle Top 2, BG Battle Top 1, and I've got no idea what's going on with the music here. Let me just check. You know what? I'm kind of feeling the manner here. Let's do the manner. Is the music too loud, too quiet? I don't know. I don't know. I'll just turn this up because I like it. Okay. Go ahead and hit accept. And now, so what we did earlier, we were using a room earlier. I'll just use the same one again just so we can have a look and see what it looks like. So I will load that in. We'll select the top screen will be top, and the bottom one will be battle bottom. And you know what we'll do next? We'll go back into Unity, we'll do a high-res render of an enemy. So I'll have to open up a different Unity project, so I'll do that now. It'll take a few minutes to open. It's quite a heavy... Wow, that thing, I can hear the bird. It's actually like physically moving the door. Okay, so I'll open a different Unity project here so I can render that. Let me see here, which one to open. There we go. So I'll render the enemy, I'll create a sprite of the enemy, and then we'll put the enemy sprite in so we can see what it looks like to have the actual enemies on the DS now. Okay. And if anyone was around for previous live streams, we actually created some enemies on live stream and then deployed them in 3D, but now we'll create some 2D renders for them. Okay, we'll accept. Cool. Let's go ahead, we'll go ahead and hit run, and then we will see what it looks like. We could put it on hardware too. That would be cool. Actually, I would personally like to see that running on hardware. So, where do I have a... Yeah, I need an SD card reader. I'm not sure I've got one because I'm not in my office. I'm in the recording studio. My recording studio does not have a micro SD card reader. I'm just realizing. So I don't. I really want to deploy that to hardware. Yeah, but afterwards, after this on the Patreon, I'll put a little beta ROM up, and then anyone that's on the Patreon can download the ROM and run it and see what the graphics will be like. Okay, I'm gonna catch up to the chat now. Okay, let's see if this is gonna work all right. All right. Towel, there's so much to learn. It's a blessing and a curse. Yeah, I feel it's great. I think it's more great than anything else. It's really, is that a feather? There's a feather in my hair from when I was fighting that bird earlier? Wow. Yeah, I think it would be sad to know that you've learned everything there is to learn. I think it would be, depressing. So I think it's something to look forward to. It's the feeling I get when I'm about to finish an RPG. I always feel some sense of bittersweet sadness because the RPG that I really like is ending. Cool. All right. So we have, and again, it doesn't look so great because my OBS settings are kind of like not great right now. So yeah, we'll have you deploy your ducks from down here. The enemies will be walking from overhead. So I'll keep adjusting it. I need to see what it looks like on hardware. Let me just see what it looks like on a proper screen. It looks much better outside of the stream. On stream, you can see like it's all like pixely here. So it looks much better not on the stream. So it'll be even better once I have some trees that are sort of showing overhead. We'll get some sprites in there. So I'm just waiting for the other Unity project to open so I can render out my monsters. I wonder if I have any monsters. Oh, you know what? I have monsters from Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers. I'll go ahead and load in a sprite from that and we'll put them in here. So let's go ahead and open that up. Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers is the very final game that launched on Nintendo 3DS. So we're gonna go ahead and borrow some graphics from that. Why don't we? Oh, I didn't want to do that. I just want to add a sprite here. Load from file. Okay. We're going to bring this over so you don't see anything confidential. Oh, gee, that Unity opened up pretty quickly. Okay. So I am looking at Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers. Let me see here. Where are my enemy sprites? I've got my sprite sheets. Enemy. Ooh, I don't know if this is too high. These are too high resolution, I think. Yeah, let me go ahead and downsize some of these. Let's grab, who's a fun boy that everyone likes? Maladaption. This is a fun boy. That's a fun boy as well. Okay. Let me go ahead and downscale some of these. This is a fun boy. I was kind of feeling this guy. I really like this guy. Let's go ahead and I don't know the limitations off the top of my head for sprite sheets, but I know that I would pack these much tighter for the DS. That's probably even. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna grab one. I'm just gonna make a new thing here. Yep. Image size. Okay, width. Height. 128. That's already too high. 128, 64. Okay. Yeah, great. Great. Let's go ahead and sharpen him just a little bit. Sharpen, sharpen. Mask. There we go. Let's just sharpen this fella up a little bit. We're gonna go. Oh, you know what? Transparency. This is where I ran into issues and why I had to use Earthen View, I think. So we're just gonna try it anyway. Let's just try it. Monster test. Let's just do that. We'll see what happens. Okay, so we now have one cryptid to use. go ahead and try and load from file again. And I better catch up with, I keep saying I'm going to catch up to the chat, and I'm doing a real bad job. Okay. Oh, so it needs to be 64 by 32. Hold on, I got to resize it. It has to have a power of 2. The largest size is 64. Let me go ahead and fix that right on up. So let's go ahead and resize it. Canvas size. Pixels. 64. Okay. Okay. We'll go 64 by 64 then. Which is already, you know, that's a whole lot of pixels. And then of course I'm going to have to manually go in because he's going to have a white outline around him, you know. So it's not going to look great even if the transparency works correctly. Let's go ahead and try and load him in. Okay, transparency will work correctly. That's just a delight. So I'm going to use the prefix here, ENM, which is not for M&Ms, it's a prefix for NME. And I'm just going to call him 1. Okay. Okay. This is enemy male 1, and we're going to have to. So how it's going to work, because GameMaker DS doesn't use object-oriented programming, and it's a good idea to have some education, to learn some concepts to help you when you're on your game development journey. I know that I would not have been able to reach this point in my career without some formal education, but GameMaker DS does not have object-oriented, which means you have to keep redoing things over and over again. So what I'm going to do before I make all enemies is only make one enemy, and I have to get pretty much almost to the very end of development. I have to get very far in development and have just one enemy completely finished, and then once I know that it's 100% good and it never needs any changes again, then I'm going to duplicate that one enemy, change the graphics and his stats and his behaviors to be different, and then that will serve as the template for the other enemies. Otherwise, if I started the game and then development and I had all the enemies kind of in there, I'd have to keep reprogramming it again and again for every single enemy. What? There was already a sprite called Mal. What? Huh? Oh, your objects can't have the same name. Okay, I'm just going to call it enemy then. Alright, let's go ahead and open up our test room here. This is just our test room, isn't it? We're going to select our object. So I have two options here. I can have either the bottom screen has a long single environment, and I can scroll up and down and I can have just stats up top, or I can have it split where you see the enemies walk from top to bottom. So I'm going to have to program some logic to where when the enemy from the top reaches the bottom, then that's when they engage. So let's put some enemies in it. This is a big enemy, so I already know this size is too big. Let's go ahead and run it just to see what it looks like in the engine. And you know what? Let's do this. Let's give it a little bit of logic so that he walks down. Okay. And he'll move downward along the screen here. Okay, we'll click accept. And we'll give him a little bit of logic here just to make him cool. Okay, add event. Step. This occurs every step. Let's see, we want to move them here. What's that one? What's this one? Animate, change sprite, create object, delete object. If object at position. This is how we check if this, which means, oh wow, okay, this is gonna be a logical sort of a nightmare. I might make it to where you see the enemies approaching from the top, but you can't interact with them, because that means I have to make two different objects for each enemy. The top object will be different from the enemies on the bottom, because from the bottom is when you fight them. So I'll have to make it to where you can't really engage with them from the top. That's just going to be a limitation, you know. Otherwise, it's going to be an immense amount of work. Object at position. So I'd have to check once he gets to the bottom of the top screen, he'll move on to the bottom screen. Okay. Which means he's not moving, he's actually creating another object and deleting himself. Set rotation angle, set object position, set object frame. So I think, I think I have to change a variable here. So let's go to control here. Man, I kind of thought there'd be something in here in objects, you know, like move, you know. Okay. So we'll go to control. I keep saying I'm going to catch up with the chat. I really just need to go catch up with the chat now. Set variable. I think it's X. I think you just go to Y. And I think it's just Y plus 1. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Because I don't have that much experience using this particular engine. I'm still learning. So I don't know if that's going to work. I think there is something different you have to do for it. I should probably open up my other project and just check what my code is there, because I have my code in there. So we'll see what this does. Yeah, that's not going to work. Let me just open my other project. Okay, let me move this off screen. I got to check my code in my other, because I have created other projects in this, but I don't remember off the top of my head because I don't use this full time. What do we got here? I don't know if the music's too loud now. I'm just starting to think the music might be too loud. Okay. Let's see, DSDS. Let me open this and I'll just see what my code is for movement. Set object position. Oh, okay. Right. So there is something called set object position. Okay, that's fine. Nope. I don't know why that's crashing. Maybe I better close it and open it again, huh? It was a little crashy there. That's okay. Okay. Open him. Yes. I need to figure out what's going on with my bit rate here. It's gone crazy, huh? Ooh, okay. Okay. So let's go to our objects again. There should be a block that sets the object position. Let me go ahead and find that. There it is. That's the one. No, that's if. Object at position. So what's this one? Set object position. Yeah, okay. Exposition. And I don't mean the narrative exposition. You got to put these brackets in there. That's what it's all about. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of that. Oh, the delete key doesn't work. You have to right click and delete. Okay, let's go ahead and accept. We'll save it and we'll run it. Okay, let's see how we go. And do enjoy your coffee. Okay, now I'm seriously catching up with the chat. I'm seriously. Lonnie Zamora. Hey, you got it, Crispy. Yeah, the Lonnie Zamora case. Nice one. Any spooky plans for Halloween? Alex Menjivar. I personally don't have any spooky plans for Halloween. I wanted to have a cool homebrew out, but it's like, I don't know if I'm going to have it. I have my hands full. I really want to get Duck Season and Guardians and Metal Exterminators submitted, and I don't think I'm going to have enough time to get like a cool, just fun Halloween themed homebrew out in time. We'll see. I would just like to do something cool and fun. Me personally, we don't celebrate Halloween in Australia, so that's a real shame. Yeah, I suppose I'll buy some candy and pretend that I'm going to give that out to trick or treaters, but we don't have trick or treaters in Australia, so I get to keep the candy for myself. You ain't roundhouse kicked that cockatoo yet? No, I'm not Leon S. Kennedy, so I can't do things like that. I'm gonna share you a story about my life, which is something that I don't do that often. I think it's good to maintain a degree of privacy, and you need to, especially when you have an online presence. It's good to have a sense of separation between your personal life and your career life. So I will share you a rare story of a point in my life earlier. When I was in high school, I was obsessed with Final Fantasy X, in particular the move Ject Shot, where Titus, I'm not going to say Titus, I'm not going to say Ketchi, and I'm not going to say Titus, I'm going to say Kitesif, I'm going to say Titus. So I was obsessed with the Ject Shot. He does a cool backflip, and he did a kick. And there was one time when I was at high school, hacky sack was very popular where I grew up. Whoa, hey fellas, slow down here. Yikes, they moved very fast. How are we going to slow that down? What are we going to do about that? That was too fast. Yikes. That can't be like a... I'm going to try 0.5 and we're going to see what happens. Because those guys went flying. Okay? Yeah, back to my story. So, I'm in high school. It's probably sophomore. No, it's not sophomore. It's junior. What comes after sophomore? No, freshman, sophomore, junior. It's probably sophomore or junior year, right? We're sitting around at lunch. People are playing hacky sack. It's going great. Just hanging out, having a great time. We're all probably listening to My Chemical Romance. We're probably talking about Dragon Ball Z. And I can't stop thinking about Final Fantasy X and the Ject Shot. It's so cool. They're playing hacky sack. I kind of jokingly said, hey, kick the hacky sack over to me. I'm going to do the Ject Shot. People are laughing. So they kick it. And it's in the air. And I didn't do a backflip, but I did like a jump and a spin and a kick. And I hit the ball. I hit the hacky sack. It connects right with my kick. And I'm like froze in a moment in time because I had no idea that was physically possible. So I can see it. I see it. And it's like, whoa, I hit it. And the ball goes flying. This hacky sack, is now traveling at like 88 miles per hour. And it goes and it hits this girl straight in the head. This poor girl sitting there at lunchtime eating her sandwich. She probably had glasses on. And this hacky sack comes flying, this Ject Shot now, hits her smack in the side of the head. Probably knocked her glasses off. I don't know if she dropped her sandwich. I felt horrified. And I was so aghast. I couldn't believe that I had just done a Ject Shot. The coolest thing that I was obsessed with. And I hit an innocent girl in the head with a ball. And so I dropped whatever I had. I was probably holding a burrito at the time. I dropped it and I sprinted because I didn't want to get in trouble. I was thinking, great, they're going to call the teachers. They're going to tell the principal. So I sprint. I don't even know where I go. I think I just go to the other end of campus. And I'm thinking, I can't afford to get in trouble now. So I leave and I'm gone. And I don't know what the ramifications were of that situation. But at that point in my life is when I learned that with great power comes great responsibility. And I never... I'm going to say I never did the Ject Shot again, but I did. I know I did. And there were other problems I've caused by doing the Ject Shot successfully again. Not bragging. Maybe it's a humble brag. But But there's a story from earlier in my life. I try to keep my personal life out of my career life. I generally don't share stories like that. I just thought it would be funny to share that with you anyway. Oh, Towel, you gotta go. Hey, great. Take care. I think maybe I'm late. Here, take care, Towel. Sorry. See ya. Bring the camera. Show us that cockatoo's fear. I'm the one that's got the fear when it comes to when flexing with the cockatoo, honestly. Bring him in as part of the dev team. I think the cockatoo would eat everything in my studio here, and I've got some computer stuff that I won't be able to replace because it's got legacy development software on it. No cockatoos were harmed in the making of this video. Well, you don't see what's happening off camera, do you? No, you don't. Twitch works just like YouTube streaming, but with more monetization integrations. Oh, I don't really like that. Don't forget us 3DS bros when color calibrating. Yeah, that was one thing with the very final update of 3 Down Stars, is when I finally understood sort of calibrating your graphics ahead of time. And that's where I really got the graphics in 3 Down Stars to really pop. And I also follow that philosophy with Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyer's Ruby River. Because of years of experience, I finally understood the physical properties of a 3DS screen. So I designed all those graphics specifically so they pop on the 3DS. Yeah, I want it to look good. The vile call of the cockatoo extortionist. Give me crackers or give me death, I think is the catchphrase for those. Swayze crazy, I like that. Rashad Z, you might need a checkerboard grid background for scale just in case. That would help when porting over sprite sheets. Yeah, you're right, but I also need to take into account that the resolution of the DS is very low. Okay, so putting in those decimal values does not work. So here's what I'm going to do. I don't know why I'm doing that. Okay, delete. So we're going to use a timer. Pardon me. Okay. So we'll trigger timer so he's not moving on every frame. I just need to check if well, first I want to start a timer. And then I want to check if the timer has triggered. So, where are they? Timers? Timers. Set an alarm. Okay, so this will be alarm 0. That's for move. Let's just start it in 10. Okay. We will go to our step, and we want to check if the alarm has triggered. So, if alarm rings, we're going alarm 0, and we'll go ahead and put some blocks in there. I kind of miss programming games like this because I grew up with Game Maker, and it's not that it's a good way in terms of scalability to create a game. It's not a good way. So I'll just say 10. Let's just set the trigger to 10 again. But it's a quaint way. It is a quaint way to make a game. Can I just move? Can I not drag that? Control. Okay. All right. Paste below. I think I'll just cut, and I will pasta. Okay. So, every time that trigger, every time the alarm triggers, we will now move down 1 pixel. So hopefully this works properly, and then we'll see the enemies moving slower, because if the enemies move that fast, there's no way you'll be able to actually deal with them. Okay. Chris B, does DS Game Maker work similar to Click Team? I don't know what Click Team is. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Pokemon released bags of Pokemon cards as individual packs of 3 in bags as trick-or-treat options. Really? That's fun. Wow, how cool is that? Oh no, that's not RAW. Chris B, I was that girl. So you got hit in the head by a hacky sack during school? I'm sure it happened, not necessarily with a eject shot kick, but I'm sure it happened plenty of times in high school. Or school in general. I don't know if hacky sacks are still popular. Oh, hey, cool. So one guy is going, and the other guys are not. This really disappoints me. I don't know. Oh no. I mean, alarms wouldn't be global, would they? That's problematic. It's very problematic if only one enemy can use an alarm. That's not good. That would restrict. That means that no other events can use alarms. That means that enemies they can have only up to 31 enemies. And admittedly, that's many enemies. I don't think I would like to have 31 enemies on screen. But that's not good. Oh dear. This is problematic. This is very problematic. I'm going to cut that. I'm going to cut that and see what happens. Does that mean... Oh no. This may not be good. I'm going to remove resetting the alarm. How about that? Okay. You hit me in the head with eject shot and then laughed about it on your stream. Look, I'm not laughing about it. I'm laughing with it. You know, there's a big difference. Okay. 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 That was ridiculous. I don't know why I even tried that, because I wouldn't be able to see the difference, would I? Because you have to reset the alarm, obviously. This is a real bummer. Because that means each enemy can only use one alarm. So once you reset the alarm, it deactivates the alarm ringing. This isn't great. Oh, I've got it. I have got it. I can use an internal variable as a timer for each instance, and that internal variable will be used to keep track of an internal timer, so I won't use the built-in alarm system. So I will have to declare a variable. How do I do that here? How do I declare a variable in this fella? So I can't use the alarm system. Okay. Wait for VBL. Declare. I would like to declare a variable. It felt like I was on Wheel of Fortune just then, you know, like I'd like to buy a vowel. Why do people sound so proud? Oh. When they say that. I'll call this movement timer C-type. What does that mean? That doesn't look like I'm doing that correctly at all. I don't know what I'm doing here. That can't be right. That can't be right. See, this is what I mean, where it's sort of like, if you want to do certain sort of advanced things, you're sort of left on your own a little bit, and then you'd have to go to the community, check the documentation, but usually you'll have to go to the community, or maybe some example projects will tell you how to use that correctly. So now, I'll just delete that, and what I actually want to do is I want to check if a variable has a value. If variable. That's going to go to the bottom though, isn't it? So if okay. If movement timer is greater than or equal to, I'll just say greater than, is greater than 10. Okay. Cut. Oh man, okay. This is where the interface kind of, it leaves a little bit to be desired. paste below. Okay, if movement timer is greater than blah 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 blah. Okay, so we also want to set the variable. So we want movement timer is equal to movement timer plus 1. Okay. So we're always incrementing our movement timer. We will paste below. Actually, we'll paste it below here, so we can delete that. We no longer need that. And we'll actually wrap up the stream pretty soon, since I should go and get myself some lunch now. But it's pretty fun hanging out, just sort of making stuff up. Movement timer is equal to 0. So once it's greater than 10, it will reset to 0, and then we will. I changed the wrong thing here. That was undo doesn't work. I was too busy talking. Yeah, what we'll do is we'll just sort of wrap up the stream pretty soon. And what we'll do, actually, so that's how we can determine our movement speed, is the movement timer, the sort of the requirement that he has to reach before that enemy moves again can be greater. So if it's a slower enemy, we increase that number, and if it's a faster enemy, we decrease that number, and then the enemy will move faster. Okay, so +1, and then we'll reset it to 0. There we go. But I think this is going to crash because I have not. There's no way that that's the correct way. See, maybe I have to type in integer. I don't know. We'll run it. If it doesn't compile, then I'll type in integer and see. I'm just assuming, because in every other programming language, if you put int, it's short for integer. Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, that didn't work. Let's go ahead and try an integer. Integer. Let's see what it says. Nope. Crashed. I have other projects. I'm just going to open one up real quick and see if I can find an example. Because surely I have an example of one that works properly. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So let's just hang out and chat for a bit. I'll wrap up the stream pretty soon and get something to eat here. Is there a loop command of sorts there? There should be. There should be. Crispy, I can't play FFX now. It brings it all back. You can fail the jack shot QuickTime thing, and not learn it. And by not learning the jack shot, you're sort of fighting back against it. Perhaps a bool to set the alarm again. Well, here's the thing: only one monster can use the alarm, so it stops the other monsters from using it. So let's see here. I'm gonna try. Man, I don't know where the I'm trying to think. I might open up some example projects and see if they've got. I'll do that. I'll open up some, because surely they've got an example on how to edit those or set the variable. I need to declare it. Let's go ahead and open up some examples. Let's see. Stylus movement, D-pad movement, horizontal shooting, velocity, what is creation? I'm going to open this one and see. I'm just going to open that. No. Let's try. Let's see, closest to point. No. Oh, you know what? No, that's not going to work. I think declaring the variable only works in that particular event. That's not going to work. Yeah, wow. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, wow. Set variable, okay. Yeah, but that's like a global variable. See if you go up top, global variables. Ugh. Yeah. Let's see, let me think here. You could have something that occurs at the end of step that resets the variables. Ooh. Yeah, this is... It's going to take some finagling. Gonna take some finagling. It's, see, the data system, the way that the data structures is used, not in just DS Game Maker, but even Game Maker itself, I think they share similar ways of their data structures, and they're all pretty different from modern development. Yeah, that's tough. That's real tough. There's just too many things open now. I'm just going to close it all. Okay. Yeah. See, if I do a variable, it's only going to exist like in that particular step. Dang. I'm gonna have to think of something. I'll think of something. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. Okay. Let me open my project back up again. Yeah, dang. What a bummer. Oh, I could use a global variable. No. Sorry, I'm considering options, but you can't predict the order in which objects will execute their code. There is no option for the beginning of the step or the end of the step. Oh, you know what? You can do this. You can do this. Oh, that's my data structure. I'm going to go... This is a simple solution. Movement counter. This is an integer. Okay, we're going to copy that. Okay. Here we go. We're going to get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of these things. I've thought of a solution. Delete, step. If movement counter has to be exactly 10, right? So it needs to equal 10. So it won't work if it's less than or greater than. We'll get rid of the increment, and we'll have a system object control it. So we'll get rid of the increments. So now we'll move, we'll delete, okay? And each enemy can move, according to their own speed. We'll accept that. We're now going to use a battle system object, right? Let's see if I have that. Do I already have it? Okay. We're going to create a new object called system battle manager. That's how you pronounce that. It's a G. Oh, guys, I was on Facebook Marketplace last night, and a banjo came up, and I was looking at it, and it didn't seem right. The listing, something was wrong with the listing, and I was looking at it, and it said, it was spelled Bango, and I was thinking, something, it took me like a good 2 minutes. It was late at night, and I'd realized, oh, right, okay, sure. And I was kind of thinking, well, I don't need a bango. I've already got a pretty good set of banjos anyway. So I'm good on banjos, right? I'm good on banjos. I definitely don't need a bango. Okay, so now I will wait until the movement counter is greater than 10. So now that the movement counter, so all the enemies now can only execute their movement code when movement counter is exactly 10. This battle system is now going to wait until it's greater than 10, and then it will reset it to 0. There we go. So we have the increment up top. Can we just copy and paste? That doesn't work, does it? No. I'm going to save myself a marginal amount of typing. Okay, and we are going to set it to 0. There we go. Let's see if this works. Okay, so we want to add our battle system manager. He's invisible. Don't you worry about him. Oh, right. I have to go like this. I'll put S, Y, S. Oh, okay. It doesn't. It didn't. I guess you could type the whole thing in there, couldn't you? Okay, then. All right, let's go ahead and slap him on at the top left there. That's our system manager. If we run it, there shouldn't be any compilation errors. It should work fine now. So let's see. You can't use a serialized field to assign an ID or something? No, absolutely not. No. There's nothing like that. The data systems in these don't work like that. You have to think very differently in order to use DS Game Maker and Game Maker in general. Yeah, it takes a different kind of problem solving. It doesn't work like anything similar to modern development engines. Okay, we're just going to wait for this. It should work. It should work fine now. But I'm really looking forward to this. I'm really excited. For all of our Patreons, we'll be able to try the ROM for free. So in a couple hours, I'll upload the ROM just so you can hear music, you can hear sound effects, you can see the graphics coming out of there. Okay, let's see if it worked. Oh, yeah. You know, I like to remain reserved and professional. But that was a simple problem-solving solution. You can see I had to switch gears here because that is not how you would solve that problem in modern game engines. But that is the solution that worked here. So now the enemies can move slower. And that gives the player time to react. They can see what the enemy is. Okay, so now I need to make it so that the enemy... What's our resolution? 192? 256 by 192, is that correct? So now let's just check if the... oh man, okay, let's just try it. Let's just try it. So we want to check if the enemy goes lower than the screen. If variable. Okay, we'll check if y is greater than or equal to 192. And the reason why it's greater than or equal to is the top left. The top left is 0, 0. And as you increase y, that value actually increases. Ooh, look, like I put my hand close to the bonfire. Should it be... No, that's a close enough color, because I think if I pick orange, it's too orangey, or... That's not strong enough. It's just not strong enough. Okay, crispy, nice. It feels like a victory for all of us, honestly. Okay, so then, let's go ahead and put our blocks in there. What we want to do is destroy ourselves. I mean, not through self-destructive behavior. I mean through a line of code here. Objects. I think this one's it. Delete object. This. That's just a quirk of the engine. It's no big deal. Okay, so then I want to create an object. Object is... Oh, my phone beeped. I don't know if it's some app telling me to spend some premium currency or something. Okay, so I will create an enemy. And my X position will be the same as my X. So I don't mean like an X, like a you know, like an X partner or anything like that, or X position, and not narrative X position. So I want to create it on the bottom screen. So now he's going to make a instance ID. Can I leave that blank? Is it okay for me to leave that blank? I'm gonna say 0 on that. Ah, okay. I did have a way. There is a way to do this. Oh, hold on. I have an example here. Hold on. It's on button deploy duck. Okay. Create next instance. There we go. You actually have to put the instance ID for the object. So that means, say for example, you have to specify whether it's the number of the object is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In modern game engines, they'll automatically assign the ID for you. In GameMaker DS, you do not get that automatically assigned for you unless you use this, which is the next instance, which the engine finds the nearest ID that's available or the next ID that's available. Okay, so now when these creatures get to the bottom of the screen, they will... I want this above. Let's go ahead and move up. Oh, there's no move up button. Paste below. Okay, so it will create a duplicate of itself and then delete itself. Let's see if this works now. Go ahead and save and test the game. And here's the reason why I can't let an interaction occur up there is because then it won't maintain the enemy's health or anything, So we still need to define, that creature needs to have his HP, if you've used any abilities to reduce that enemy's movement speed, if you've reduced their attack power, those sort of specifications. So because we're creating a whole new object, you can't move one object to the bottom. Excuse me. You can keep track of the next ID and then use that ID and then change the values, but it's, I don't actually know how feasible that is. So let's go ahead and we'll see now if these. So that gives me time. I'm thinking, oh, I gotta pick my ducks. I gotta figure out what my ducks are. I wonder how I can do my transparent sprites. So once they get to the bottom, it should create a new enemy. Yeah. Okay. So what I want to do now, so you can see it sort of overlaps, right? So I'm going to have to make sure that those are created at a negative value. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we want to destroy at a different point, and we want to create at a different point. So we want to copy those. We want to paste below. So we will create sooner than we destroy. So let's delete that. And we want to create, let's go negative. Oh no, it depends on the height of the sprite. Let's go negative. Ooh. We're at 64, we'll go negative 32. Okay. Okay, so what's 192? Oh, you know what? That's fine. 192. 192 minus 32 is 160. I mean, it's obvious. You shouldn't even need to think about it. So we delete ourselves there, but eventually it will equal oh. 130, 132, 160. Well, let's just say equal. It's equal to exactly 160. The problem is, if it goes above or below it, it won't work. So I will have to come back and fix this logic later. But let's just try this really quick, because I want to show, you saw how it sort of clipped, right? So let's just see if this will work. We want to be able to show the bottom half of the monster on the bottom screen and the top half on the top screen. So we'll see if this works. Maybe it will. What do you guys think of the lighting this time? I got a colored bulb here so I can sort of blend in with the campfire, and then if the scene changes, I can change the color, So, okay. Yeah, we'll just do one final test. We'll just fine-tune this, and then we'll wrap up the stream. So let's wait for these guys. I'm all out of coffee as well. So that's it for the coffee for today. And I'll go get myself some lunch in a minute. Let's see if this works. You know what would look cool if we sort of put that side by side next to the switch, so we can see what our graphics look like. Let's put our inspector back where it came from. So we have the, turn our gizmos off as well. Oh, hey, it worked, but I wasn't paying attention. Yikes, I was busy doing something else. Let's go ahead and reset the cartridge. Oh no, I said cartridge like somebody's grandpa. Okay, that's sort of what we got going on here. Let's try it again. All right, let's see if this works, and then we'll call it a day. We'll wrap it up. The transition looks much better from one screen to the next. Oh, good, thanks. Yeah, I didn't pay attention. Oh, we're gonna see it now. All right, let's go. All right. Okay, but it's still not exactly what I want. Oh, you know what happened? I think I know what happened. Let's go ahead and try and fix that. I think I know what happened. It deleted it when it wasn't supposed to. So I want to create it sooner. Clear. Delete. Let's delete that. And this time we'll make it 150. 10 pixels. Oh, no. 64. 192, 61, 64, 32, 94. Oh no! I feel no. I'm looking like I'm that meme now where there's the numbers everywhere because I'm trying to do simple subtraction. I'm doing simple subtraction, but I feel like I'm doing that meme where the numbers are floating from the TV show. 192 minus 60 is 130. 2 minus 4, 128. I don't know why my brain is so very tired right now. Okay, so that will now create the enemy at the same time that the enemy should be reaching the same position, and then it will, this should be a smooth transition now. Let's have a look. March, hi, good to see you. Thanks for hanging out. May good fortune come to you and those important to you. P.S. I'm still playing Ruby River in bed almost every night since it launched. Hey, I really appreciate that. I'm really glad that you're enjoying that, and thank you so much for enjoying and appreciating the games. I'm trying to get an update rolled out for Ruby River. So I've completed the work, and again, right now I'm still trying to format it so I can roll it out on the eShop. It's a logistical issue right now because I can't roll my updates out the same way that I had done in the past. Wow, just thank you so much. I really appreciate you enjoying and playing the games. What would be so cool? You know what would be cool? Just like a fun homebrew thing. What if I made a version of Ruby River, but for the DS? Like, wouldn't that be pretty fun? Because Ruby River is one of my favorite ones that I've made. It's just, it was so different. It gave me an opportunity to tell a story in a different way. In that it was really like hands off. It was like I'm not really showing or giving anything to the player. Everything that the player finds, they find by themselves. This should be pretty smooth. Okay. Okay. It's pretty close. It's pretty close, right? Okay, so there's I've run out of VRAM. So that is not a good solution. So I need my sprite. I need my sprite resolution to be smaller. My enemies need to be smaller than that, and I can't do that. So that there's a limitation. Okay, we've hit a limitation, so we shouldn't do that. But just so we can see it working, I just want to see it working properly, like once. Let's just make a minor adjustment. We'll get rid of one of the enemies, and it should be fine. But you can see that I now have a limitation. I won't be able to do that. I'll have to optimize it. Okay, so let's just pick an arbitrary number. We'll wait until 20, 40, 32, 30. I don't know, 144 is an arbitrary number. Let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll take one of the enemies out. I just want to see it working properly. So my enemies will have to be smaller resolution. And I won't be able to do the dual split like that, so I will have to wait until the enemies just clip through. So we can see that I am working with really strict limitations here. It's fine. We'll work it out. We'll find a way to make it work. I'll get rid of that guy. Get out of here. Get out of here. Crispy, I'd like you to make a Silver Falls like Hotel Dusk, but without 3D elements, perhaps. I would also like that. And it is an idea, a sort of a murder mystery kind of thing, but not it doesn't necessarily have to be about a murder. But I have wanted to do that, and since there's like a handful of people here, so I'll just share a little secret with you guys. I have installed an SDK, and I've been experimenting with an SDK to make DOS games, specifically a point-and-click adventure. Like the old games, your little character walks around, you point and click on things, and you're solving mysteries. Something like that I think would be very fun. I don't necessarily have something actively in the works for that. Hey, this is pretty close. That's pretty close, right? Great. Can we just make the screen bigger? How do I make the screen bigger? Do we drag and drop, or what do we do? Hey, where you going, man? What's up, man? I don't know what is happening. Okay, so it's not letting me drag. I just want to be like, what if I like Alt-Enter? No? I feel like there should be video output. It's not letting me do a big screen, you know what I mean? Anyway, that's fine, no big deal. Alright, so you guys can see, so it's supposed to be, if the enemies reach the bottom of the screen, I'll explain the gameplay to you now. So, oh wow, what happened? Oh wow, I don't know what, I need to figure, obviously I'm leaking memory for some terrible reason. I'll figure it out, no big deal. There's not enough VRAM. It's no big deal, I'll figure it out. So how the gameplay works is enemies keep coming from the top of the screen. They'll work their way to the bottom. You deploy ducks. You have a limited number of ducks, obviously. I guess it's pretty obvious. And all the ducks of different colors have different abilities. You have to go and recruit your ducks as you lose your ducks, and your ducks lose their lives for the greater good. You'll have to go and recruit some more ducks. But during battle, it's sort of your main challenge is your resource management. You kind of think, oh, I'm kind of low on healer ducks, I'm kind of low on the high damage ducks. What ducks should I use right now? Because you got to think for the future. You got to think, oh man, what if the next battle, there's a really good reward, so you want to save ducks for the future. So you're deploying ducks, your ducks will walk forward, and once your ducks engage the enemies will stop and fight your ducks. If an enemy reaches the bottom of the screen, then you fail, you lose the mission, and it enters a first-person view where you actively have to use the touchscreen to fight one of the enemies in first-person view using your ducks. And then you don't get as good of a reward. It's a worse reward. So yeah. Anyway, that is kind of the core gameplay. So between the Switch and the DS, that core battle system will be the same. On the Switch won't have two screens. You know, it'll be zoomed out. You can zoom in and out. You can move the camera around. So on the Switch, which you see on the left, enemies will be approaching. You know, from the top of the screen. They'll be walking towards the bottom. You deploy your ducks, but there are mechanical differences between the two games. So it'll be interesting. And the story, again, if you missed it earlier, the story of Duck Season on the DS takes place around 2008, and the story on the Switch version takes place around modern day. So there are story differences, and you get to spend time with characters at different points in their lives, and you learn different things and whatnot. So anyway, yeah, I thought it'd be fun to see the DS version and the Switch version running side by side, and I hope you're looking forward to playing these games. Again, the DS version will be free. The Switch version, I haven't set a final price. I need to look at a few things, but it'll probably be around $9.99. Oh, I haven't announced this. There is a feature that I want on Duck Season for the Switch, and I need to look at my development time to see what is feasible or plausible. But I want there to be a couch PvP. So when you're playing on the same console, I want one player to be able to set up a team of cryptids. So they build a team of cryptids, and there is a degree of setting up your custom skills. You have to pick which cryptids are on your team, and then player 2 will get to deploy cryptids while player 1 deploys their ducks. And player 1, has their own sort of set up their ducks. Which color ducks do you have? What's special abilities and bonuses and items can you equip to your ducks. So that's something that I hope that I can include on launch day for Duck Season on the Switch. If not, then I will absolutely be adding that in an update in the future. But I would really, really like to see that sort of couch PvP for Duck Season on the Switch. On the DS, that's a little bit out of my ability to develop on the DS, though I would love to have PvP on the DS. I accidentally hit the escape button. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap up the stream here. So I hope you guys had fun just hanging out and chatting. I'll go and make myself some lunch now. So yeah, it's been cool just sort of chatting and hanging out and telling you about the time that I kicked a girl in the head with a hacky sack ball. Not something I'm proud of. But I am proud that I did perform a Jex shot from Final Fantasy X correctly. I'm pretty proud of that. It's one of the highlights in my career, I think. And if I had the chance to do it again, I would. I have no regrets. I'm a big, strong, powerful blitzball player. Yeah. Gina Z, I kind of love that Duck Season Switch being so far in the future means you're essentially releasing the original game and its remake sequel at the same time. Yeah, you get it. You absolutely get it. That's exactly what it is. Is that the Switch version is technically the sequel, but they're launching at the exact same time. It has the same core gameplay. So here's another mechanical difference. The Switch version has Starglass. But Starglass in the lore of Silver Falls did not exist in the late 2000s. Starglass, in terms of what you can do with it when you equip it. So there's already a mechanical difference there. So to but to take the place of Starglass in the DS version, you have moods. So instead of having elements like fire, ice, light, wind, instead of having elements, in Duck Season DS you have moods, and they take the place of elements. And there are moods like lonely, angry, happy, etc., etc. And you collect different food items, and when you feed the food item to your ducks, their mood changes, and that's how you deal with certain enemies. Like you might have missions in the DS version where it says, lonely ducks will deal more damage in this one. Whereas on the Switch version, it'll say, if you have any ducks that have fire properties, they'll deal more damage. So there are mechanical parallels, but they're thematically different. And so that allows me to still maintain some mechanical complexity in the DS game while adhering to the lore, because you can't take a future mechanic like, the Starglass is only for the modern timeline, and it didn't exist in the 2000s. Anyway, that's one sort of mechanical difference there. So yeah, I hope you guys are really looking forward to that. It's just such a fun project to work on, and I really like making stuff. I'm going to go deploy this to the DS, and again, for all our Patreons, again, thank you to everyone who's been supporting on Patreon. In a couple hours, I'll have a little test ROM that you can deploy. It won't be massively playable, but it's something that you can play on your DS. Just load up just to see it running on your DS, because I think that kind of thing is cool. So yeah. Anyway, it's been awesome, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you again soon. I'm gonna make myself some lunch, and then I'll be working on this. I'll be making duck season. I want to make this, have it ready as soon as possible. The faster I work and the harder I work, the more likely it is I will be able to add that couch PvP for duck season Switch. I really want players to be able to fight each other, one player controlling their cryptid army and then the other player controlling the duck army. I'm just so looking forward to that. And I'm just kind of looking at this like, man, I really like the amount of detail that's in the terrain here. Like, if you zoom right in, like, shoot, that looks, I'm not patting myself on the back here, but shoot. This looks pretty good. I like that. Yeah, and this is a Switch version. This is what it'll look like on the Switch. I think it'll look pretty groovy on the Switch. Yeah, nice. Anyway, take care, everyone. We'll see you all later. Be well. Enjoy yourself an apple cider coffee. Get a little packet, powdered apple cider. Add that to your coffee. I'll see you around, everyone. Take care.